about to start.
Blog Talk Radio.
And now for our feature presentation.
I swear to God, people, one day we're going to get this intro thing right. I swear to God. This is the Untitled Movie Show for Thursday, Valentine's Eve, February 13th, 2014. I'm your host, Miguel Leon. Alongside me is the lovely Michael Burhan of the Nerd Genius.
He's a nerd, and he's genius.
Listen into his Nerd Genius channel on YouTube, and you'll see what he's singing about. And we've also got two guests joining us for tonight's show. The first guest is a man by the name of Mario Salcido. Am I pronouncing that right, man?
I don't think so, but that's okay.
Yeah, I apologize for that, man. I'm the whole words thing is a new concept for me. And if you didn't hear that laughter in the background, we have another guest that just joined us by the name of Sarah Mortimer. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Now, you both are friends of Michael Burhan. Mario, you want to tell us about yourself first before we move on?
Yes, I'm a game reviewer for animecourier.com. I love movies, I love gaming, anime. We review all that kind of stuff.
Nice. I'm glad to have you on, bro. And Sarah, you just joined us on the show. I'm guessing you're affiliated with Mr. Burhan in some way. Would you like to tell us about yourself?
Sure. I'm affiliated with Michael Burhan through his friend Xander Scullion. I'm not really on YouTube or anything. I'm just a fan of all the shows, but I'm an illustrator, and I've done some pictures for Xander for XS Gaming Podcast, and I did one for Happy Console Gamer as well.
Yeah, check out both of those guys, man. Check out the XS Gaming Podcast. Check out the Happy Console Gamer. We've worked with the Happy Console Gamer. We've had Rob Mann on I Got Gameplay multiple times. I believe.
It's going to be on Valentine's Day as well. Woohoo!
Yeah, and I got a bone to pick with you on that. The fact that you're seemingly trolling our fan base by doing a couples episode the day after Valentine's Day. Do you not realize the type of people that listen to our show?
Mostly single perverts.
Yeah, and you're gonna tease them by doing a whole episode devoted to just gaming couples, something they would probably know nothing about.
The fact that gaming couples are cool. Ask Sarah, she has a gaming boyfriend.
Indeed I do. 3.5 years and still going.
Well, not all of us would be that lucky, I suppose.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can pester Burhan about that till the cows come home. But we've got some news we need to get into before we get into our main topic. By the way, our main topic tonight is going to be on movie sequels. Last week we did an episode on prequels, and this week we're kind of dovetailing off of that. We're going to be talking about the logical extension to that, movie sequels. But before we get into that, I want to throw the call number out there. Folks, if you're listening to it live, if you're hearing my voice out there, call help. No, I'm just kidding. Call no, 718-664.
Michael Burhan has him locked in the basement.
He asked me if this washcloth smelled like chloroform, and now I'm here.
Yes, and it also causes a great big pain in your ass.
Oh, is that what that is? Oh, man. But yeah, folks, call into the show, 718-664-9265. I just put up the flash chat, so if you're listening to us live via Blog Talk Radio, I just loaded up the chat, so definitely type into there. You know, let us know what you think about our topic, some of the movies we're going to be talking about. Let us know some about the news bits we're going to bring up right now going into it, because that's what we do in the first hour. And we start off with some unfortunate news. I can't really say sad news because the person I'm going to be talking about lived a pretty long life. And that, of course, one of the big news stories in Hollywood right now is the unfortunate passing of Shirley Temple, the former child starlet from the 1930s and 40s, passed away this week at the age of 85. I remember seeing a lot of trailers. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but they used to have trailers like during the infomercial hours for like, the best of collections where they would take a lot of her movies and remaster them. So that's the best that I have in terms of recollection of her movies. I've never seen them. It's just older movies like that really have nothing for me. But, I mean, one of the first big stars of the movie era, one of the youngest stars of the movie era at that time, she is considered by many to be a trailblazer, and I think she's a bit of an inspiration because I'm looking at the article that I pulled up, and she did a lot in her career that a lot of people don't realize. She ran for Congress in 1967, didn't win though. She was appointed the United States ambassador to Ghana in 1974, and then the ambassador to Czechoslovakia in 1989. In an era where we have a lot of these young stars and starlets that are kind of imploding on themselves, to see a star like that really never at any point in her career ruin her legacy, I got to tip my hat to her. She's a visionary. She's a pioneer in that regard. Burhan, what are your thoughts?
I love her stuff. I remember when she went to play that cute little baby. Rebecca, lollipop on the tree, just do the candies. I'll stop that. But she also, excelled as an actress. She's very versatile. She had a very great career in terms of the way that Hollywood was back then. She had a lot of things to deal with because that you had those entire sexist stereotype things going on over there.
Oh, and the fact that this was pre-union, so you probably had to deal with a lot of stuff that she had to go through in those early years.
Exactly. So I think she's a pioneer and an amazing person. God bless her.
And yeah, 85 for a Hollywood star, that's a really big achievement. Considering most stars nowadays don't really live to be like 50 or 60 due to, the years of excess. So that's why I said it's not tragic or sad. It's more like it's unfortunate to hear somebody die, but 85 years is a long and healthy life. You really can't say that.
She lived a lot longer than a lot of people I know who passed on.
Yeah, and we could talk about some of the more recent ones when we get to one of our next stories. But Mario, your thoughts on Shirley Temple?
Well, I didn't know much about what she did outside of the movies, but yeah, I think it's sad. But like you said, was not something tragical like drugs, abuses, or something like that. That's something we see so often from Hollywood.
Oh, yeah, agreed. I mean, last week we talked about Philip Seymour Hoffman, and we're going to get back to him later on in an upcoming article. But, yeah, I mean, it's like the polar opposite of that situation. I'm not trying to denigrate that situation at all. And, I really do feel I need to kind of add an addendum real quick to this. We talked last week about, me and Burhan mostly, talked about Hoffman's death and how we kind of poked fun at it. Not poked fun in a way of like mocking it, but we talked about how it's hard for us to feel bad for somebody who was addicted to drugs and, who kind of blew himself out using it. But I did a little bit more research and I realized that from a lot of like accounts from like methadone clinics and a lot of rehab clinics that heroin is actually the hardest drug to kick. It's literally a situation to where even if you want to stop, you can't. So I do feel as though I owe a bit of an apology because I may have been a little bit more harsher on it without knowing what I was talking about. So I can't speak for Burhan, but I apologize. I should not have gone into that kind of mindset without knowing a little bit more about it.
Well, the way I see it is I'm not apologizing per se because I didn't say anything wrong. And in terms of the way that Philip Seymour Hoffman went out, it is hard to feel someone sorry for that. I understand he had an addiction. I really do. And I understand he tried to battle his demons. But there's an addiction that there's going overboard, right? That's like saying, okay, I'm going to go on a diet, get my stomach pumped, stop eating cakes, and then dying and becoming diabetic because you gorged on fucking cakes for one whole night. There's a limit, He did this with an intention that he was going to kill himself. There's the problem.
Fair enough.
In my opinion. The thing is, I love Philip Seymour Hoffman. I love his contribution to the arts. I think he was an amazing actor. He died before his time, and I've said this time and time again. But the way he went is one of those things where if you know that you're addicted to something, you've cleaned yourself up, and you just went and had this big thing that you just did. You know, he left his family behind, left his kids behind. He let his addiction get the better of him. You know, and I've seen his family, I've seen the aftermath of it, you know, and I've seen the papers have a field day with it as well, and it's sad. But at the same level, let's try not remember about the way he passed. Let's remember about all the good he did, you know, and put your hands up for a man who did amazingly well in his Hollywood career, and he defined himself on the independents and made a name for himself. So we'll leave it at that.
Fair enough. I just didn't want to come off as sounding a little bit too insensitive in case we had some people who, you know, had gone through something like that in their past or have a relative like that. I don't want to come off as sounding a little bit too insensitive. You can say what you can have. You can you're free to, you know, voice it however you want. I just wanted to just kind of cover my bases in case the 3 people that were listening last week decided, you know, I may have offended one of those 3 people. There's a chance I might have.
What? One of your 3 listeners?
I was poking fun at the fact that we only got 3 live listeners last week. There were only 3 people listening to the show.
Those people are the people who understand what greatness is. Those people who don't listen to the show have no idea what they're missing.
Listen, let me tell you something. No one bought Vincent van Gogh's paintings when he was alive. It was only after he died that people realized how much of a genius he is. So we just got to wait until we both die, and then people will realize how great the show was.
Yeah, I ain't waiting for myself to die, Miguel. I want to get a career first. I'm going to be like this big Hollywood star, and people are going to make fun of my movies. Tags on it.
You're going to be the next Tommy Wiseau.
I will be.
He has to be the next Doctor first. You've got to strike that off your list.
Oh, yes, I have to be the next Doctor Who. That's a good idea. And then I could be the next Tommy Wiseau. I'd go in and go, I did not hit her. Oh, hey, Mark.
No. Oh.
He's a much better actor than that, folks. If you don't believe him, check out his This Job for Hire series. It's definitely worth looking at.
Yeah, that was very fun.
Well, if you want to see some of my worst acting, you can actually see it over on my Daily Motion channel. I've got a movie called The East London Story Slap or Die when I was green. And I mean green as hell in terms of being an actor. And it was terrible, but it's so good at the same time. So go and check that out. That's on dailymotion.com/nerdgenius.
5 stars. Give it a watch. Sarah, what are your thoughts on the whole Shirley Temple on the death of Shirley Temple? Do you have any? Are you familiar with the work of the actress?
I'm not really. Like, obviously, I'd heard of her because she's such a big cultural icon, but I haven't really seen her work personally. But seeing that she was 85 when she died, like, I didn't even know she was still alive. So having that long of a life is really good. And also, just thinking, like, some people are saying, you know, all the modern child stars are imploding, but you think that Hollywood is functioning quite differently from how it was back when Shirley Temple was a kid, because the way that I've heard it being done now is actors in Hollywood, or especially kids, are seen as actors first and children second. So they're seen as sort of like a, how to word it, so not quite like a commodity, but something like that, where they're not quite treated as children. They're treated as like, okay, you're going to do this movie, you're going to do this job, and like the pressure of conforming to what Hollywood thinks is good is probably the reason why so many of them implode. Because with the actors in Harry Potter, they were raised in the UK, and they were working under the UK standards of acting and work and stuff. They're fine. They're totally fine. So I have a feeling it's something with the way Hollywood runs is contributing to all the implosions that child actors seem to be having these days.
Oh, I don't doubt that at all. I mean, over there in the UK, it's probably considered like it's more of a theater setup, whereas as in Hollywood, it's basically, you know, it's more of a network kind of thing. You know, it's more about the types of people.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it's about the people you hang out with. It's what you do. It's who you know. Whereas with overseas, I'm guessing it's more of along the lines of, if you know, based on talent. You know, there doesn't seem to be as much politicking as you would think in Hollywood. And I think that's where a lot of people kind of fall into, and I think that's what I think in a way that's kind of how I think the older style of Hollywood to me sounds more like how it is over there, to where it's not so much about the politicking, it's more about just making movies.
Yeah, that it was treated more like just a normal job rather than some overly scrutinized, insane thing. But that may have been why she didn't get into some of the stuff that child stars now tend to do, and maybe that's why she was able to be as successful as she was, and how she was able to live as well as she did. Well, live as long as she did, really. But
yeah, she seemed to be a lot smarter, a lot more cool-headed. I mean, like I said,
well, some Hollywood stars are actually extremely smart, like Natalie Portman.
Oh,
it just depends what they do, what else they're able to do, and how they do it, and how they get there. Yeah.
That actually is a really good segue, because we actually have a Natalie Portman story right now. It's funny how stuff like that works. We tend to get lucky now and then with things like that. Isn't that right, Burhan?
What's that, Natalie Portman stories?
No, segues, good segues between stories. We tend to have a good flow around here. You know, we tend to get lucky from time to time. But speaking of Natalie Portman...
What Natalie Portman did. Boom!
Speaking of Natalie Portman, I've got a story about her upcoming directorial debut. She's going to be directing the adaptation of the Israeli book, A Tale of Love and Darkness, and it seems as though she's drumming up a bit of controversy with it, mostly because she is filming the film in Israel on a stretch of neighborhood called and I apologize if I'm about to mispronounce this to our Israeli listeners, the Jerusalem's Nalaat neighborhood, Nahlaot. Listen, I'm not Israeli. I don't have the accent for it. You'd probably pronounce it better than I would. You're close enough to it.
Okay, what is it?
It's spelled Nahlaot.
Nalaot.
Okay. So yeah, that neighborhood. Supposedly it is a very orthodox, super orthodox neighborhood, and she's drumming up a bit of controversy because the people that live in that neighborhood are a little uneasy about her coming in and filming the movie. They're not saying so much that they don't want the movie to be filmed. They just want to know more about the movie before they decide to come in, because this is a very orthodox religion. This is a very orthodox sect of the religion, and from what I've heard from friends of mine who are Jewish, these people are basically shut-ins. You know, they don't really interact much with the outside world. They are super extremist. So it seems like there's a bit of an issue with her coming in to film this movie. This isn't the first time she's drummed up a bit of controversy in Israel. She recently filmed not recently, but back in 2005, she filmed a movie called Free Zone, which had a scene of her kissing another gentleman, which happened to be filmed next to something called the Wailing Wall, which I believe is a very famous Israeli landmark. Let me pull up the other article that I had. I had it right here. It's the last remnant of the second biblical temple, and apparently in this part, around this landmark, the separation of men and women is strictly enforced. It's just kind of how it is. So she drummed up a bit of controversy there, which she apologized for. She was her and the production company were unaware of how strict the rules were around there. So it was a bit of a faux pas. But this isn't the first time she's had a bit of an issue over there. But what do you think about this? What do you think about not only the issue that they're having over there, but her directing this movie, since it's her first?
I think people need to lighten the fuck up.
Okay, that's a little bit blunt. Would you like to elaborate on that?
Well, think about it this way, right? She's paying to be there. She's giving money to your economy. If you don't want her to be there, then don't give her the rights to be there. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You have a government in place, and if I'm shooting a movie, I need permission to shoot in certain places. So I basically have to get a permit from my local government so I can shoot my film in a certain area. If they don't want me to shoot the film in that area, all they have to say is no. We're not allowing you to have that. They've given her the rights to shoot in the area. She's paying them to be there. She's going to be paying a ton of extras to be down there as well from their area. And she's basically making sure, the studio is making sure there's going to be a lot of press for that event as well. Why are people feeling uneasy?
Well, from what it sounds like, the actual Israeli government is actually on the studio side. You know, there's been reports of like how certain people within the neighborhood have kind of like put up signs and stuff, and scrolled messages on walls, kind of labeling these people as foreign invaders. And the Israeli government is kind of like, no, we've got this under control. This is fine. We want you to film here. They very much are in the same camp you are. They want them to film here. They want to put on a good face because they want more people to come to Jerusalem and Israel and film movies there. So they're on the side of the movie studio on this one. This is a situation of it's the very Orthodox Jews there that have a problem with this.
It's stupid. It is really, really stupid.
Mario, your thoughts on this whole situation?
Well, that's a very edgy situation, especially in Israel and religion. It's not easy, but I think how can I say it? I believe they have the right to be there, but that these people, as you say, they are really extremist, and they should be informed about what's going to be filmed there, because it seems they are worried about something inappropriate. I think this could be solved in a very easy way if they could involve the community. Hey, this is what we're going to do here. Don't worry. It's nothing wrong, not going to affect your religion. We are not insulting you, etc.
Agree.
Well, it's not like that. It's not like they're. I'm hearing an echo. Does somebody have the speakers on? All right. Sorry about that.
No, that's all right. Keep going.
It's not like that they're coming in to film like, Showgirls 3 or something. The movie that they're filming is called The Tale of Love and Darkness. It's the adaptation of Israeli author Amos Oz's memoirs, and it is the best-selling book in Israel's history. So it's not like they're coming in to film something lewd or anything like that.
Yeah, can't imagine these people don't watch much movies or read too much books.
Like an Israeli porno or something like that.
Yeah, it's not like they're going in to purposefully film something inappropriate. Although I will say this, I can understand in a way their weariness, because you do have an American production coming into your country, and we don't really have the best PR in terms of dealing with other people's religions. So I could kind of see how these, like they said, foreign invaders coming in to film would be a bit of an issue. So I can kind of see it from this end. At the same time, I can also see it from Burhan's end, and I think this is going to be a situation to where I think they're going to be able to work this out. I don't think this is going to really affect the production too much or anything like that. I don't see them going so far as to make it a hostile area for them to work in, because like I've said before, the Israeli government wants more people to come in and film in their country to bring up to basically funnel money in.
Yeah, it's good for the economy.
Exactly. Sarah, your thoughts on this whole situation?
Well, I was thinking, I think as long as they keep up good communication with the communities they're filming in, and they let them know, this is what we're doing. We're filming an adaptation of a book that was made in Israel, and this is exactly what we're doing. It shouldn't be that bad, and I'm sure Natalie and everybody on the team would have, they went to their local government to get permits, and they would have, told the government, this is what we're doing, and, would have gone through all the steps of the process to make sure that what they were doing was okay. But it sounds like the community wasn't told ahead of time what's going on, and that might be the reason why they're so kind of about it. So I think if they go and say and be like, okay, we know that you have some concerns about this, but, your government says it's okay, this is exactly what we're doing, and at least if they do all they can, then they can't really control the reactions of the community now or after that.
I completely agree, and I think we're all kind of in the consensus that it's not too much of an issue, and it has the potential to just be easily fixed. So we'll just see how it goes.
You know what? they allow people to come over, right, and shoot whatever the fuck they want to shoot. There shouldn't be an issue. In terms of religion, politics, film should not be an issue. And I've said this. Yeah, your religion is your religion. We respect your religion. But people have the right to film whatever the fuck they want to film, as long as they're not taking the mick out of your religious beliefs. So calm the hell down and allow people to do what they got to do, because it's helping your economy. You don't allow them to do this, then your economy doesn't get the finance that it needs. We're in a recession, people. I'm not saying allow Von Jeremy. If it would be a different if Von Jeremy came into the country and shot that film, then yeah, we would know it was a porno.
Yeah. Or if it was, well, I was going to say if it was like maybe Mel Gibson coming in to film something.
Passion of the Christ 2.
Yeah.
That would be terrible.
He who is without sin kicks the first ass.
Yeah, I was
think it's a problem of communication with the community. They need to involve them more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think, like I said, I don't think this is too big of an issue. I think this is more just an oversight.
Yeah.
I think this is going to blow over. I think the Israeli government's going to really get this sorted out. Honestly, what shocked me more about the story is I had no idea that Natalie Portman was actually going to be directing this. What do you guys think about that, her first directorial effort?
That sounds pretty cool. I'm kind of curious about what she's able to do. She's a really, really good actor that I've seen, so it's kind of fun, nice to hear that she's going into the other stages of filmmaking, and I'm curious to see how it turns out.
She is a good actress, and I agree with you on that, apart from the fact that when she was in Thor 2, she just acted like she wasn't even trying.
Oh, she's always been a non-entity in the Thor movies since the first one.
I know, but the second one, you could tell that she just wasn't bothered.
I mean, they didn't even bring her in for the Avengers. They kind of just wrote her off in a side scene, like, oh, yeah. We know your girlfriend.
That was weird.
Yeah, her role in the movie was not that good.
Yeah, let's put it
actually, when she absorbed the ether, I was expecting to see more there, something more amazing, but no. She was just like a fucking vessel for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Put it to you this way: when you're besting Amy Adams in terms of relevancy, you need to kind of rethink your character development. Yeah, I mean Amy Adams in Man of Steel, she was completely unnecessary.
Well, you know what makes me laugh is the fact that you had what's the name from Two Broke Girls? Oh God, what's her name? I should know. I'm in love with the girl. What was her name?
Heather Graham?
No, the girl from Two Broke Girls. The one with the good boobs.
Kat Dennings?
Yes, Kat Dennings. Thank you. I'm in love with Kat Dennings. Kat Dennings, if you hear me, this is Michael Burhan.
I remember.
I'm sure she's listening right now.
And, yeah, she is listening. And as always, I want to have my head in your boobs. So, you and me, come on.
I was just going to say she's cute, but okay.
She is very cute. Basically, now what I'm saying is Kat Dennings overshone her in a sense. Kat Dennings was actually the far better actor.
Oh, wait a minute. Was she the sidekick in the first one? I haven't seen the second one yet. Oh,
yeah, she was.
Yeah, she's I actually find her more interesting than Natalie Portman's character, but I'm not sure if that's really Natalie Portman's fault as opposed to how the characters were written.
I liked her
character.
character.
Half of it's written and half of it's delivery. Like, I liked Darcy better.
Yeah, I liked Dennings' character in there. She was quirky.
But yeah, no, Dennings' character has a far larger role in this one, and it just seems like she outshone Natalie Portman in this, and it just it makes me laugh because Portman it's like she went out of her way to not be relevant. And I don't know how someone could do that, but she succeeded doing that. And I know a lot behind the scenes she had problems involving the fact that the director that she wanted wasn't in it.
She's just mad because what's his name was prettier than her the guy that played Thor.
Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah.
I agree.
Listen, I will say this. If you're allowed one man crush in your life, and that for me that's Chris Hemsworth. I don't mind admitting that. That's a dude crush right there.
And that's gay. I'm just saying. Anyway.
I have a respect for the man, and he has very nice hair. And that's the accent, man. Come on, I'd sell my soul to get an accent like that.
Miguel, I will go and put my shrimp up your Barbie.
No, I mean the very deep baritone voice.
Really?
Another!
Man, you should at least try.
Another!
For those confused, I'm half Australian and I lived in Australia for a long time.
Another!
Well, if you folks out there want to talk about your man crushes, make sure to call in 718-664-9265. Go ahead.
Did you watch Ian Hemsworth in Home and Away?
No.
Liam
You did it.
I was too young for Home and Away. I didn't get
We
it.
belong together. Yeah, Home and Away.
The song gets stuck in my head, though.
You and I forever and ever.
No, stop.
No matter where you are.
No. You should watch Sea Change. That's actually really good.
You're my
I don't
guiding star. And for the very first... I better stop now. I actually know the entire song. It's really bad.
Well, dog, let me tell you this, dog. You're going to Hollywood, dog. It's American Idol reference. I don't know if they have it over there.
Yeah, dog.
But yeah, folks, if you want to join us in, we've got another half hour to go in our news segment. 718-664-9265. You guys aren't getting into the chat. We're logged in as the Retro Unlimited Network. If you're listening live, get into the chat and start typing stuff up. We'll give you a shout out. Let's segue into a story about Marvel. We talked about Natalie Portman and Thor 2, and let's go into another femme fatale from the Marvel series that is in the news. Marvel Studios says that they are still in development of a Black Widow solo film. Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige recently talked to Total Film and said, quote, "We wanted to change the dynamic of the cinematic universe for this film. We wanted Cap and really the entire cinematic universe to be very different at the end of Winter Soldier than it is at the beginning. Therefore, when we meet the Avengers at the top of Age of Ultron, it's a very different landscape than we left them at the end of the first film. Partially, that's because we love the rhythm that the comic books have developed. Each of the characters appear in their runs. Occasionally they get together for a big event or crossover series. They part again, and then they come back again together." Unquote. I don't know.
We're going to see another Iron Man movie?
Well, I'm almost positive if they can get Robert Downey Jr. to come back after Avengers 2, then we'll be seeing another Iron Man movie somehow.
Well, apparently he's going to be doing Iron Man, Avengers 3 as well, so...
Whoa!
He signed on for 2 and 3.
Yeah, I think it was Noah Antwiler who said it at one point that there really is only 2 actors nowadays that are big enough names that they could sell a film on their own, and one of them is Robert Downey Jr. He has the name now thanks to the Iron Man series. They'd be stupid not to try to sign him on for as many movies as possible.
Well, the thing is, it's the only movie that's the only role that he can command the amount of money, that stupid amount of money that he's getting for it. Anywhere else, he won't be able to get it at all, and he knows that. And the reason is, he's not selling on his merit as an actor. Even though he's a really good actor, he's not selling it on his merit as an actor. He's selling it on the fact how polarizing he is as Tony Stark. If you put anyone else in that role, they could probably people would warm up to that person just as much as Downey Jr.
Fair enough. In terms of the Black Widow movie, what do you guys think about that? I'm kind of on the fence on that for several reasons. First off, they're saying that they want to do a Black Widow movie. Meanwhile, we haven't heard anything about the Hawkeye movie. And if you gave me a choice between seeing a movie about Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow or Jeremy Renner as Hawkeye, I'd go with the Hawkeye character. I think he's a very underrated character, especially.
Wait, isn't it that Jeremy Renner may not be coming back as Hawkeye? I've heard.
I haven't heard anything about that. That would be really unfortunate because I like Jeremy Renner.
Apparently an issue that he had. He was talking crap about the about his role being underused, so to speak. Yeah.
That would be unfortunate if that's the case, because from what I'm hearing, if they do end up doing the Black Widow movie, they're going to have Hawkeye play a character in that, and I honestly think Hawkeye deserves his own movie. I kind of feel like that's where they're going to go with this, that if they do make the Black Widow movie, they're just going to slot in Hawkeye as kind of her side character, and like I said, I think Jeremy Renner's a big enough actor. He can carry a movie on his own. I don't know why they think Scarlett Johansson, and I love Scarlett Johansson. I think she is incredibly attractive. Best lips in the business, by the way. I think that she's a very bankable commodity, but I do not want to see her lead a movie. If you gave me the choice between her and Jeremy Renner, I'd want to see Jeremy Renner as the lead character. So I'm a little bit 50-50 on the whole Black Widow movie idea for that reason.
Well, I'm a kind of 50-50 on the fact that they photoshopped Scarlett Johansson's waist. What the fuck?
They made her thinner?
Yeah. Have you seen the Winter Soldier poster?
I saw that. Oh.
That waist looks disgusting, and she's always been a rather sort of lean, very muscular type of girl. There's nothing wrong with it. She's very thick. She looks really nice. And the fact is, by doing what they're doing, they're basically doing a stereotype and enforcing one of that strong women have to look like they're a size 0.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
Also, definitely photoshopped her boobs as well. I saw a comparison. I'm like, yeah, no.
It's ridiculous.
I'm looking at the poster right now. Yeah, there's something really wrong with that waist. That's a -0 right there.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And, I believe the producers of this movie, if it was Marvel's call or if it was someone else's call, should be ashamed of their fucking selves. Seriously, I've got 2 daughters, and I'll tell you right now, there was nothing wrong with what Scarlett Johansson looked like. She looks amazing the way she is. And Scarlett, if that was your choice to do that, seriously, girl, you're fucking nuts.
No, I guarantee
I have a feeling it was people in post-production. Like, she was not, I don't think she was notified of that.
Well, it goes...
Probably not. I don't think she had something to do with it.
Hold on. It goes back to... what we talked, it goes back to the controversy over The Heat, the Sandra Bullock, Melissa McCarthy movie. The whole controversy about how they photoshopped Melissa McCarthy in the poster for that and made her much thinner than she is in real life. That's what they do. It's unfortunate, but for some reason they feel like they got to make everybody thinner in pictures. And like you said, I agree wholeheartedly with what you guys are talking about. You shouldn't. I mean, it looks unnatural on Johansson. She looks great as is.
It's ridiculous. Yeah. It is really ridiculous. And in terms of the Hollywood stereotype, this is what's wrong with Hollywood, and they should be fucking ashamed of themselves. It really bugged me when I saw that poster, because girls are going to look at that and they're going to think that's what a strong woman looks like. And that is not what a strong woman looks like. And I'm really, really disappointed in Scarlett Johansson for allowing that to happen. She didn't need to do that. You really didn't need to do that.
You completely just went drunk robot on us for a second there. Your Skype
Did I?
Yeah, you went all...
Okay, that's probably lag from my Skype there. But I'm just saying that they didn't need to do that. And I'm disappointed with Scarlett Johansson. I'm disappointed with Marvel Studios. And I think Hollywood needs to fucking apologize. This is the reason why you get so many insecure girls trying to freaking rapidly lose weight, because they think that this is the right thing. This is what men want. I don't want things like that. That disgusts me. Scarlett Johansson looked amazing the way that she looked previously when she was in what was that Bill Murray movie? I did a review on it.
Lost in Translation.
Lost in Translation. She looked amazing in that. Yeah. She looks amazing with her normal waist and her normal size, body. There's no reason to do this. There's no reason to do that. And she looked fine. And to her, I think, really, if you've got that insecurity issues with yourself, maybe you need to get a life, girl. Seriously. I'm really disappointed in you.
I don't want to go too far into this, but I've always had a problem with the perception of the for some reason, and I'm basically going to call it the nanny state mentality that we've come into in the last decade with women, where we're just scared of them having any sort of proportions. We've kind of idolized these stick figures. I miss the 90s, man, when we worshipped women that actually had curves on them. I mean, come on, man. You grew up in the 90s more than I did, man, with the Baywatch era.
Yeah.
I mean, we had women that actually had real bodies, and God, we've just become just so just pent up, and now we focus on women that are just size 0 stick figures, and I can't do that, man. I can't. I gotta have women with parts on them that I can actually grab onto, you know.
Yeah.
But I won't go into that too far. That's a whole rant that I could get into for a while.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, some of us can't really help being skinny, so why don't people just let go of any sort of preconception of how women should look? Just, like, get the hell over it.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I mean, if you're in my situation, you're desperate enough. Trust me, my standards have kind of dropped as of late. Not that I'm saying that's a bad thing, but I can't be picky or choosy in this case. But let's move on from that. It seems like we're all on the same page in terms of a Black Widow movie, unless we got anything we want to add about that.
I'm personally excited for it, but I'm also worried about how they're going to handle a character. Because previously, like, she's been given some agency in terms of development, but I'm worried it's just going to become something like Tomb Raider.
And I was actually just about to say that, because it seems like Hollywood has a much harder time having female leads as characters.
It's like they don't know what to do with them. It's like, hi, we're like pretty much almost exactly the same as men, except not. So,
I mean,
no.
look over in DC. They've basically had to be pulled kicking and screaming to get the Wonder Woman movie off the ground. And even then, I don't know if it's ever going to get it off the ground. I think they might just have her play a side character in the Batman-Superman world, you know, which we've discussed Batman and Superman every news period since we started the show. It's kind of been a running gag as of late.
I'm not going to bother with it personally.
Yeah, I purposely went out of my way to not put a Batman versus Superman story this week, just to kind of break up the tide. But, you know, maybe this will be good. Maybe it'll be more along the lines of something like, the character of Ellen Ripley in Aliens, and less like the characters in Charlie's Angels, but we'll see.
And again, Ripley, super hot.
I'm pretty excited for the movie, but I hope they include more about S.H.I.E.L.D., you know, because it's part of the organization, after all. And I would like to see Hawkeye, his own movie. He deserved that movie. He's a very good character, and it will be a waste if they don't do that.
I agree. I want to see that Hawkeye movie, and I'm hearing rumors that they might want to include some of the continuity from the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV series into the movie as well, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, that will be very good if they do that.
This is what I like. I like the integration between television and film. I think if DC was smart, that's what they would be doing. They'll be integrating the Arrow and Flash TV series with the film variation.
Yeah, just say so. If they was smart, they are not.
Yeah, I agree. I agree totally, Marcy. I really agree on this.
A lot of chances with their movies. They could have done the same Marvel did, linking one after another. They totally fucked that.
Well, we'll get into. I have a rant I want to go on in terms of Warner Brothers and the way they handle their properties when we get into our second half. Trust me. But let's see. I've got a bunch of little mini stories that we can talk about. They're not huge stories. We kind of brush through them. But one story I want to go into that's a little bit heartbreaking for me, because I have a special place in my heart for this movie, the first version of this movie. But it seems as though the upcoming Independence Day 2 sequel, the sequel to Roland Emmerich's Independence Day, will not include Will Smith.
There's a reason behind this. It
seems as though they cannot come to terms with getting him to sign on to do the sequel for Independence Day. And it seems like they're going to instead focus less on his character and more on his stepson, the little black kid from the first movie. They've still got Jeff Goldblum signed. He's signed on. Bill Pullman has said he's going to be signing on. Supposedly the reason behind Will Smith not being a part of Independence Day 2, they can't afford him. He's just way too expensive.
It's not... Yeah, it's not the fact that they can't afford him, like, up front. It's the back end. Now, apparently, Men in Black 3 wasn't profitable because Will Smith demanded a huge back end, so he got paid something like $25 million, basically his asking price for the movie, and then got 30% of the movie's gross as well.
And that movie and I believe that movie worldwide made like $600 million.
And it still made a loss because it technically, after paying the producers and Smith, they broke even.
Yeah,
It is ridiculous.
I've said it before when it comes to Will Smith, and this breaks my heart because I'm such a big fan of his. I mean, I grew up in the '90s, and he kind of was one of the big, icons that you could look at as a kid, and just well-natured, good movies, great songs. Now it just seems like he's completely fallen apart. I mean, we talked last week about, I think it was either last week or the week before, about his kids and doing all these, foisting them into, all these movies like the Karate Kid remake and whatnot, but he's making decisions with his career that I don't agree with. There was probably the biggest one that people hashed him over when he turned down the lead role as Django in Django Unchained because he didn't feel like the character was the lead. He felt the Christoph Waltz character was the lead character, and because of that, he said he didn't want to do the script.
No, the biggest one was After Earth.
Oh yeah, After Earth. Yeah, that was a huge. That you could tell that was an ego trip right there.
And I agree with you there. I was about to comment about that movie, but man, I can't believe it. He rejected the role. I don't know what's going on with him. Like you say, you remember Fresh Prince. Sorry for that. When he did the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, remember that?
Yeah.
I think we all did watch that show and fell in love with Will Smith.
Oh, for me, when I mentioned how Independence Day has a special place in my heart, it's one of the earliest movies that I remember.
Yeah.
It's one of the earliest movie viewing experiences.
Yeah, I agree. But, yeah, I think the problem is, I don't know. Like you said, he's having a huge ego trip right now. I don't know.
I think from what I've heard, and I'm stressing this out, this is all rumor and hearsay, but from what I've heard from rumors within Hollywood, he's gotten in bed with the Scientology religion, so he's starting to get involved in that whole crazy crew, and I think the Hollywood influence in there is starting to get to him.
That's bad.
He's kind of involved with the whole Tom Cruise, John Travolta sect, that whole crazy group, and I think we're starting to see it more with just his reactions, because like you said, you look at him in the 90s, and how he was kind of seen as kind of one of the smarter, celebrities. You rarely ever got into issues, never any BS in terms of politics, and now, within the last few years, he's kind of just fallen off the wagon. I do believe it's because of the crew of people that he's hanging out with now.
Well, it's not just that as well. It's because he's pimping out his son as well. That makes me freaking sick. It's like they don't have to just be famous. They've got to breed famous, His whole family has to be famous. And his eldest son, the smart kid that he is, just went, you know what? I ain't getting involved in this shit. His daughter, Willow, was just like, yeah, I ain't getting involved in this shit. And the only person who seems to be, getting involved is his son, who sits there and says loads of freaking shit that he has no idea, doesn't understand. He tweets all these, smart things and tries to sound profound and instead makes himself sound like a bloody retard.
Yeah, a bit absurd.
And Smith is, literally pimping this kid to the point of no return. The reason why After Earth was so bad was because Smith had his fingers in everything, and he did it because he's sitting there thinking, oh, I could, I'm going to have my hands on this, and there won't be an issue at all, and the problem is that there was an issue, and Smith needs to, wisen up, get his head back together, get himself back in the game, because he's going to lose his leading man status if he keeps doing all this shit, because it's getting to the point where, I don't know, no one knows what's going on with him.
Sarah, you got anything you want to add to this before we move on?
Not entirely sure. I wasn't really aware of all the crazy stuff that Will Smith was doing, but I'm kind of worried about Jaden. Because, if what Berhan said is true, he's pimping his son out, what's that going to do to Jaden when he gets older? Is he going to be okay?
He's going to rebel. Yeah, he's going to do a Justin. He's going to
feel he's the new Jesus Christ.
What?
He's going to feel he's the new Jesus Christ at this rate.
Oh, so he's going to pull a Kanye West.
The Huffington
As long as he
Post
doesn't
says
pull a Justin Bieber, I'm fine.
that After Earth and Scientology connections are apparently silly nonsense, says the Church of Scientology.
So Will Smith needs to get out of the closet too, huh?
Yeah, it looks like it. I think, seriously, Scientology really, I don't know what else to say about. The whole freaking religion's a fucking big joke.
Isn't it banned over there in the UK? Haven't they pretty much gotten rid of it? Or at least somewhere in Europe, I know it's pretty much they don't allow it.
Yeah, we don't have it over here.
Thank God.
They tried. I went into a Scientology camp one day, right? It was a bookshop. The guy goes to me, "Are you unhappy with your life?" And I had this stress test thing, and it came out as like a 0. And the guy goes, "Oh, you seem fine." I was like, "I am. I'm a happy person." "Oh, would you like to browse our books?" I'm just standing there looking at all these Scientology books, and I went, "Yeah, nah, I don't read nonsense and fiction. If I want to read fiction, I'll go to a bookshop." I walked out.
They have been trying here in Mexico, but I don't think it's going to work.
It's nonsense. It's the same thing, right? And I've said this. I don't mind anybody having a religion or having a belief. I have no issue about it. I support you and your religious belief, right?
Yeah.
But throwing your faith in everyone else's face and acting like a complete douche schnauzer about it. I watched Passion of the Christ. That film was a bunch of shit, in my opinion. That's me. I watch films on the Muslim religion and stuff like that, and we did our own film on Jesus. Don't get me wrong, our film was just as bad. Talking babies, okay? Talking babies. A virgin woman giving birth on a tree, and loads of other crap. Do you know what I mean?
So you were trying to copy David Lynch.
This was back in the 80s. This movie happened.
Oh my God.
We were ridiculous. And a baby proved this woman was a virgin apparently by speaking to the masses. A newborn baby was talking, people, right? I sat there and I was shaking my head when my mother was pointing at me going, "This is all true, And I was like, "Okay, Mum, I'm just going to go over there." All right? That's that cool. I'm going to go to the corner of my room and play with crack balls. But this is what I'm saying. When it comes to religious beliefs, don't shove it down people's throats. People don't want to see it. As far as I'm concerned, film, television has nothing to do with religion at all. Religion has nothing to do with film and television. Religion has nothing to do with politics. If you want to show off your faith, good on you. Show it to your social circles. But don't come to me and say, "We're Scientology. We're the one true faith," and all that bollocks, because I'm going to show my finger up at you and say, "This finger is my one true faith. It means fuck off." That's me anyway. Rant over.
Yeah. You can put away your soapbox now. On that note, let's go into, it's 8:52 now, let's go into our last two topics, and I'm going to lump both of these in because they kind of fit in the same theme. And this is, we've got news on 2 upcoming trilogies, or 2 planned trilogies, and they're both remakes. The first one is, and I was actually shocked when I saw this, they're rebooting The Transporter.
Who's playing the Transporter this time?
Apparently they've already cast the Transporter. It is not Jason Statham. It is Game of Thrones co-star Ed Skrein. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. Skrein, who plays the character of Dario Naharis from HBO's smash hit Game of Thrones.
Okay, so who says this film's going to be a train wreck? Raise your hand.
I'm with you on that.
I was actually, like I said, I was actually shocked because I'm like, wait a minute, the last Transporter movie was what, 2009, I believe? It wasn't that far off. Do we really want to rebooting it? And it's going to be a prequel series, supposedly. It's going to take place, they want to get 3 movies out of this, and it's going to be set before the events of the Statham Transporter. It's going to explain the origins of the Transporter. Look, I don't know if Transporter 3 is as bad as the critics say. I think it's sitting at maybe a 10 or a 15 on Rotten Tomatoes. Then again, I've seen a lot of movies that have been around there that I've liked. I don't know how good the third movie is. I don't think it's so bad that you really need to reboot the series. And plus, I don't think, honestly, have you guys seen the Transporter movies?
It's cheesy!
No.
Long ago. I don't remember very well.
That's what it's supposed to be. It's an action movie. It's a cheesy action movie with a guy who's really emo. He doesn't do much. He stands there fucking transporting goods and stuff like that, people, and helping people out, and reluctantly becomes a hero. That's what the Transporter is about. That's it. They don't need to make it and reboot it. because Statham basically was perfect for the role. It's for someone who's an action star. It's not for someone who wants to... I'm not going to basically do a movie like that and expect myself to be a Shakespearean actor. It's the worst thing in the world. It doesn't need to happen.
Well, actually, now that you mention that, that's one of the reasons why Statham didn't want to sign on to do a fourth Transporter movie. He said he wanted to branch out as an actor, so I think they offered him a Transporter sequel, and he turned it down. He wanted to do more serious films, which good on Statham. I think he...
Serious films?
Yeah.
Jason Statham.
Look, I like Jason Statham. He's one of my favorite action leads of this era. So
yeah, he's an action lead. He's one-dimensional. He's not a serious actor.
Well, if he was trying to do other things.
I mean, he's done more dramatic roles. Like he was in Killer Elite, which I heard was not a straightforward action movie. He did The Mechanic. He did.
Whoa! Killer Elite was terrible. I went to the cinema to watch that, and I wanted my money back.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah. It was based on a book. No, it was based on a rumor about a book, and apparently was based on a true story because of that book. Exactly. And his acting in that was terrible. It was him and Clive Owen.
Yeah, and I think De Niro played a character in there, too.
He was in it for 5 minutes.
And he gets top billing. He's one of the top billed people in there. Wow.
It's basically to earn his paycheck. I think he got enough to be in the movie, just enough, and they cut his role out in as much as they could, just to put him in there and say, oh, look, he's there. Oh, look, he's there. The movie itself was terrible. It was a terrible piece of shit of a film.
Well, I figured I'd just bring that up because a lot of people say it was very atypical of Statham, but you've got that, you've got Redemption, you've got The Mechanic. I mean, he's been trying to branch out into more serious roles, but...
He's not a serious actor. The thing is, Jason Statham, the thing what makes him great, he's an action star. He always will be somebody like that. Same goes for Stallone, same goes for Schwarzenegger, same goes for Dwayne The Rock Johnson. If The Rock did a love story, we would all probably laugh in his fucking face.
Well, yeah. He tried doing serious roles early on when he did Walking Tall.
What happened?
Walking Tall, I think, was a hit. I think it broke even. I don't remember it being a smash, but he has gone back.
It wasn't a smash. It had a straight-to-DVD sequel, and that was it.
Starring Kevin Sorbo, of all people, because I remember seeing the box art for that at like a Blockbuster years ago. I was like, they made a sequel to this with Hercules? Which is ironic because now The Rock is playing Hercules in an upcoming movie. So see how that whole thing works?
But what made me laugh was, you do a sequel to a movie starring a black man with a white man with long hair.
I think it's one of those in-name only sequels because I mean the story of Walking Tall is based on kind of a real character, the character of Buford Pusser, who was kind of like a cop who was trying to get this corrupted group out of his town. I think the Walking Tall sequel is basically just in name only. It's a completely different story that they're just kind of slapping the name Walking Tall on because they can. But in terms of the reboot of the Transporter, what do you guys think? I mean, should they be rebooting a series that's not even old? And do you think that it's going to work not having Statham in there? Because he really is the Transporter character. I mean, he personified it.
I don't like it.
You don't?
It's really too soon. I mean, that movie is what, 2002?
The first one, yeah, 2002. And like I said, the third one, I think, was 2009, I believe. It's not even...
Yeah, I mean, it's just way too soon for a reboot.
I agree. I totally agree with
remember,
Mario
Michael,
on this.
the topic in Facebook the other day about the lack of creativity of the writers and directors?
Yeah,
This is the same thing.
Yeah, no, I agree with him on that one. Hollywood's trying to get the next big franchise. That's what they want. This is what they're focusing on, and it's not making any sense. It's like, get some fucking original movies out there, people. There's a lot of great stuff that's out there. There's a lot of great film funds. There's a lot of great people out there who can, branch on and show you how amazing that they can be. And the fact that this is happening at the moment makes me laugh so much because it shows that they don't know what they're doing. They have no idea they have nothing left, and they're thinking, okay, we need to just grab onto the next thing and leech on it as much as we can.
like parasites, and it's getting to the point now where this is getting stupid. It literally is.
Sorry.
Yeah, but yeah, no, I totally agree with you.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't think you need to go into the backstory of the character. I mean, it's the transporter. We don't care about his background. You know, we're just it's basically, I equate transporter to something like Commando. You know, the 80s Commando. You know, you're not watching the Arnold Schwarzenegger version of Commando for the story. You're watching it because you have a very charismatic action lead, you know, doing a lot of very fancy special effects. Well, not too fancy, but doing a lot of big set. Using a lot of big set pieces to basically, you know, excite the fans. It's basically a popcorn action movie. That's what the Transporter was, you know, except in that case they were able to stretch it out into 2 more movies. So, in that regard, I don't think you need a backstory. To me, it's like I said, it's just they're capitalizing on the name. They can make another Transporter, so they're going to, and it really is unfortunate. But I will say this, going on to the other part of these 2 articles. That's not the one upcoming trilogy that bugs me. The one that bugs me is from a recent article in from a recent article in, let me see what no, it's Collider, Collider.com, with producer Joel Silver, who has gone on record in saying that not only are they remaking the Escape movies, the Escape from New York series, they want to make this reboot a trilogy. They want to basically do the trilogy that Carpenter was planning on again. Quote, I've always liked Kurt Russell's character. This is Joel Silver talking to Collider. Quote, I've always liked Kurt's character, the Snake Plissken character, so I've always liked that idea, but we kind of figured out a way to do almost a trilogy of that story. I don't know. If you're that serious about continuing the Escape series and really going all out, why not just do what Carpenter's been doing for the last few years now? For those of you that don't know, John Carpenter, for the past decade, I think, has been trying to get a third Escape movie off the ground. He wants to do Escape from Earth, which is a script he had written sometime after he did Escape from L.A., and basically the story is going to be Snake Plissken having to break into a prison ship in space, like a prison, like a space station, and save the president's daughter. It's a lot like, if you guys heard of the movie Lockout with Guy Pearce.
I haven't.
I've seen it. I've only seen bits of it. I rented it from Redbox and took it back because I'd rented the PG cut. There's the unrated cut, which has a lot of the action scenes put back into it, but it's kind of got the same premise. You've got this one character being sent into this prison colony to save the president's daughter, who's being taken hostage by a bunch of prisoners that escape that break out. It's kind of in that regard. Even Kurt Russell has said he wants to come back for it. If you're going to do that, do that. You know, I want to see an actual sequel to this. I don't want to see somebody else coming in remaking Escape from New York. I mean, that movie's a classic. You know, I even love Escape from L.A. I love that movie. That movie's cheap.
Yeah.
How about Escape from Bad Movies? I think we need one of those.
In the moment when Kurt Russell says, I would like to do that, they should do it. Because it will be amazing if they could expand and explain more of that universe, of that world, of that setting, you know. It will be amazing to see more, instead of a reboot, remakes, that after all won't be the same. Well, they won't be the original movies.
That's what they kind of want to do with this reboot, is they want to go more in depth with the universe that was created during this time than the original ones. And in fact, I have a quote here from Silver later on in the article, and he talks about one of the inspirations for wanting to do this, and you guys aren't going to believe what inspired him to want to take this route. Quote, there's a video game that came out a few years ago called Arkham City, which shows how when Gotham became this kind of walled prison and how it became when Gotham became this kind of walled prison and how it became a walled prison. And they never deal with that in the story of Escape from New York. So part of our idea was to kind of see how the city became this walled prison and how the Snake Plissken character was a hero and how he became not looked at as a hero. And then in the middle of...
He wasn't a hero. He was an anti-hero. He was a dude who was done over. He was the inspiration for Snake in Metal Gear Solid. He was the inspiration for Solid Snake, for God's sake. You don't need to remake a classic. It's like remaking Back to the Future. You're bastardizing something that you have no need to. The source material was great. We talked about this before, remember, Miguel, about the Thing. The reason why the remake didn't work, because it didn't have that charm that the original had.
It had no personality. And I've had the same problem with the Total Recall remake. I have the same problem with the upcoming RoboCop remake. You just look at them and you can tell that these were not made by people who had a respect and a love for the original source material. That this is just we're taking a middle of the road movie and we're attaching a name to it because we can probably get a few more $1 million out of it. And that's what my biggest fear with an Escape from New York remake is. It's just going to be a standard bland popcorn movie, and that's not what Escape from New York was.
It's the same reason why everyone hates the RoboCop remake, right? As a standalone movie, it's fine. The story's fine, but it's not RoboCop. Yeah. And a lot of people have said the B-movie charm, everything that made RoboCop what it was, they've got rid of it.
Well, the biggest problem I've heard is there's a lot of satire missing. There's a lot of the biting satire that the first movie had that is just lost in this new one.
Yeah, and it's because of the fact they're going... basically what the producer said is, well, we want to sell this to kids.
Isn't that what doomed RoboCop 3?
It did.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about that in a bit.
Yeah,
RoboCop
that's the problem. RoboCop was never a movie for kids. They
killed his partner off as well, which wasn't good.
Yeah, Nancy Allen. But yeah, RoboCop 1 was not a kids movie. RoboCop 2 was less of a kids movie. That movie's sadistic in some of the stuff that it does.
I agree.
And RoboCop 3, was made for kids, and it's not good. And
It's terrible.
Like I said, my thoughts on this is if you want to cash in on the Escape from New York franchise, just get Carpenter to do Escape from Earth. Give him the money, give him a small budget so he can really, well, not so much a small budget, but don't go overboard with it so that he doesn't make any money back, because that's kind of the big issue with big budget movies. You spend so much on it, there's no way you're going to make money back. Just have him remake it. Like I said, Kurt Russell has said he'll come back and don the Snake Plissken suit if Carpenter ever decides to do Escape from Earth. Just do that. Let him do his third movie if you want to cast in so badly. Don't remake it. We don't want to see young actors trying to be Snake Plissken. We want to see Snake Plissken.
Agreed.
Do any of you guys else have anything you want to say before we head on to our main topic?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
Basically, in the whole terms of remakes, I want to give some positive news. Arrow has been renewed for season 3.
Oh.
Yay! And in Flash news, the original Barry Allen himself from the 90s Flash TV series will be having an unspecified role in the Flash pilot.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Do you know who I'm talking about, ladies and gentlemen? Do you know who I'm talking about? Because I don't think you do. Do you?
I do remember there was an early 90s Flash, and I remember this mostly because at one point Mark Hamill plays a villain in that original series.
I do love that show.
And the guy who played Barry Allen, his name is John Wesley Shipp. He is one of my favourite TV actors. He's been in loads of American soaps like Once and Again and stuff like that. He played Barry Allen, he played the Flash, and he portrayed the role so well. It was a very, very good series, and only lasted, I believe, 1 season, but it was really good. So check that out, guys. But he has an unspecified role in the new Flash TV series. I really, really am hoping that he's a mentor or he's a father to the new Barry Allen. But he's got something to do with it, the whole Flash thing. So we'll see.
I'll say this in terms of the DC TV universe. I really think that DC needs to kind of go more into that. Clearly, they don't know what they're doing in terms of the movies, but in terms of TV, they seem to be doing really well. I mean, you've got the Smallville TV series, You've got the Arrow TV series, the upcoming Flash series. I think the only real missteps that I've seen with them was probably the Wonder Woman series, and that mostly was just because of David E. Kelly. He had no business doing a Wonder Woman TV series.
Yeah, that was terrible. They basically screwed it up.
Do you hear that? Did you hear that Fox is in development of a Batman prequel series?
By the way, guys, as well, just to let you know, they're still casting for the Flash pilot at the moment. You can send your videos in at the moment. I'll leave a link on Nerd Genius, Retro Island Network as well, and on the Retro Island site for those who want to audition for the Flash TV series pilot.
Michael Burhan. That's
yes, I am gonna audition. I think I'm gonna be like playing Fug number 3 or something like that. Let's see what happens.
You're seriously going to do this, right?
I seriously am going to do this. Yeah.
I'd mark out to see Michael Burhan pop up on the Flash.
I would mark out to see myself pop up on the Flash. And there's more news from Michael Burhan Universe coming soon, guys. But we'll talk about that later on.
All right, check that out then. Nerdgenius.com. That's his website. I'm sure he'll probably be posting up the news on there. And folks, if you want to join in on the chat, we're going to be getting into our second hour in the second half of the show in just a bit. 718-664-9265. I see there's a guest in the Flash chat, guest 6135. Why don't you give us a call or type something into the chat? We'd love to hear from you. We're going to be getting into the second half of our show talking about movie sequels. Before we get into that, I want to start off by asking you guys a question. Now, if you have a movie that you like, and you hear that they're making a sequel with it, whether or not you know if it's good or bad, barring who's involved or whatnot, are you guys excited about it, or do you kind of feel as though that first movie was so good that it was satisfying enough that it doesn't need a sequel?
Unless it's Jingle All the Way 2.
Ooh, yeah. For those of you that don't know, they are in development of a Jingle All the Way 2. It's being developed by WWE Films.
Which is the first bad thing out of this.
Oh, no, it gets worse. It's going to star Larry the Cable Guy.
Which is the second bad thing out of this. Do you want to go for a trifecta, Miguel?
What's the trifecta? I don't know what
it's
the third...
co-starring Santino Marella.
Oh, that was a given. I figured that was going to be the case. That's not too much of a bad thing. Trust me, on the list of things wrong with this whole thing, I put Larry the Cable Guy being involved at the top of it.
What's the whole issue with Larry the Cable Guy taking an action-style sloppy seconds? For those who don't know, he was in The Tooth Fairy 2, which starred who, Miguel?
Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
And now he's actually bastardizing an Arnold Schwarzenegger film, which is a classic because of such lines as, "Put that cookie down now!" And also, "It's turbo time!" And another fine line, of course, which I always find hilarious out of the whole thing as well, was, "I'll get it for you, I promise." There's like a million things that was wrong with that film, but it was hilariously bad, which made it so great. And the WWE are purposely going to make this one. They're going to try and make it hilariously bad. Hence is where people are just going to sit there and go, that's not funny.
I got to say it right now. Can we just be done with Larry the Cable Guy? I mean, look, I'll admit, I was into the whole blue collar thing early on. I loved the first blue collar comedy tour. I thought the guys were hilarious, and I for a little while was a fan of Larry the Cable Guy. I even forced my parents to watch Larry the Cable Guy Health Inspector with me. I rented it from a Blockbuster, and I was like, "Oh, I love this guy. It's hilarious. Let's watch this movie." And I had to apologize to them after it. I'm sorry, I should watch that. That was
your parents probably watch any old shit, and you're apologizing to them.
Yeah, I apologize for that. That was terrible. I wasted my money. I almost demanded that Larry the Cable Guy give me my money back. But
did your dad throw it in the toilet and went, "What is this shit"?
No, because it was from Blockbuster. They'd get us for late fees if we didn't give it back to them.
Dad, pick it out the toilet now, please.
Yeah, they will hound me for late fees because this was back in the dying years of Blockbuster, so they would do that. But yeah, I have nothing to say about that. I just hope that it You know what the sad part is I want to say that this movie's just going to be forgotten, but this is the WWE we're talking about. You know when that movie comes out, it's going to be plastered on every bit of their TV product. They're just going to be showing trailers for it, interviews. Larry the Cable Guy will probably come in and host an episode of Monday Night Raw. I'm not looking forward to this at all.
So yeah, thank you WWE for raping every part of my life that I enjoy. You raped professional wrestling, now you're going to rape films.
Any other franchise you want to get your hands on to kind of anger me? Maybe wrangle the Ghostbusters franchise from Harold.
You know what they should do?
Oh, no.
You know what they should do? They should do Back to the Future.
Alone. We don't need remakes of that.
They should do Back to the Future starring Triple H. He could be like...
Don't give an idea.
He'll be Doc Brown and Santino will be Marty McFly. He'll be like, Marty, yeah. You gotta come back with me. Yeah.
I know.
I would only be okay with that if they cast Eric Stoltz as the main character.
Who?
Oh, it's an inside joke. Basically, Eric Stoltz was the original actor to play Marty McFly's character. He had filmed about half of the movie before Zemeckis decided that he just wasn't funny enough, so they reshot the whole movie with Michael J. Fox. You can find footage of it online.
Yeah,
they shot half of it.
He was terrible, though. He was really bland in it.
Yeah, Zemeckis said that he just didn't have the pop that Michael J. Fox had, so they had to scrap the entire half of the film that they did and replace him with Michael J. Fox, which is for the better, obviously.
So I'm glad that they actually decided to do that. Rather than go ahead with some boring, bland dude.
He had to fight. Zemeckis and Spielberg had to fight with the studio because they thought, you've already filmed half the movie. Why do you want to scrap it? And they're like, listen, we got this kid.
This guy's not good.
Yeah, this Stoltz guy, he's not that good. We've got this kid, the kid from what's his name, whatever that show was that he was. Family Ties.
What do we do, baby?
This kid's gonna be big. You just let us refilm the movie, and obviously we see where that's gone. Mm-hmm. But that goes into our topic of sequels. You mentioned the Back to the Future. I don't know if I consider Back to the Future a series of sequels. And the reason I say that is because Back to the Future, the whole story is really just one big movie because each one takes place as the other one starts. 2 starts right after 1, and 3 starts off right after 2. So I don't know if I consider Back to the Future, the trilogy, to be a series of sequels or just one long trilogy, but that's an example of good sequels done right.
Yeah, I like it when they do that, where they actually tie it in so it's one larger story.
Yeah, Lord of the Rings.
Usually they do that planning in advance. Like Lord of the Rings, it was written like that, so they film it like that. So I like it when they do that just off the ground.
Yeah. So let's actually segue on to another question. I'm going to throw it out there. What are you guys' favorite sequels? Burhan, let's start with you. What's a sequel off the top of your head that you think got it right?
Back to the Future 2.
All right, fair enough. Yeah, we just mentioned it. It'd kind of be a bit of it's a moot point. Do you want to elaborate on that a little more?
Yeah, well, it took everything what made the first one great and made it better. It added a second layer to the story. It performed nicely off the first one. It kind of bounced off of it. You had the lovely multiple storyline going on between Marty and his son, and also the fact that Biff basically got a hold of this book that ended up making him like a trillionaire and killing his father and rewriting history and stuff like that. I thought that was awesome. The fact that they had as well the characters, that everyone had their own sort of, just like the original was about Marty McFly. This time it talks about Marty, Doc. You've got Marty's girlfriend having her own situation going on there as well. So you had very well written characters. It was a very well written story. The music was really great as well. Plus, it was fun just to see the future. Do you know what I mean? What their perception of the future would be. So it was an amazing movie, and it really did what a sequel was supposed to do, which was continue the story from the first film. And that's what it did. It told a very great story and really helped cement the franchise as one of the best in a sense to me. So in my whole perception, I think that's exactly what a well written, well scripted, well acted, and well produced movies should be. Something quite like Back to the Future. It's very original in its own sense. I'm not saying remake it. Nope. I'm saying that when it originally was made, that's exactly what a well-produced sequel should have been. Very well made. And so kudos to everybody involved in that. And also, I hold a special place. It does hold a special place in my heart in terms of the fact that it starred one of my favorite actors in Michael J. Fox. And I love Doc Brown. Like, Marty, you got to come back with me. It's your kids, Marty. It's your kids. Something's wrong with your kids.
Marty, we've got to go back in time and stop your kids. Your daughter's about to marry a black man.
I don't think
What,
we
we
should
become
talk to.
assholes?
Yeah, that movie
That's from Family Guy. That's a bit I remember specifically.
Yeah.
They did a cutaway shot, and then Marty's like, no, I'm okay with that there, Doc. He's like, well, yeah, I assumed you'd be okay with it. I was just testing you. He's like, nah, you're not even trying, are you?
Yeah. He's like, I don't think we should hang around each other anymore. I don't have a problem with black people.
Family Guy. So Mario, what's a sequel that really stands out to you in terms of being a true example of what a sequel for a movie should be?
Well, I love a lot of movies, but if I am to pick one, it's going to be Terminator 2.
Ooh, that's one of my tops.
An amazing movie back in the day. Great effects, and the twist of the Terminator being good and be there to protect you was something nobody expected at first.
Oh yeah.
When Sarah's in the hospital and she's in the floor, like saying, "Oh shit," and she's there, "Come with me if you want to live." That was amazing. What's a great movie?
I love that movie. I remember. Here's a funny story. I remember watching that so much when I was a kid because my parents had it recorded off of an HBO broadcast of it, but they had it attached with other movies that were kind of shared on a tape that they had just had lying around. So I used to watch this recorded tape that had Terminator 2, the Looney Bugs Bunny movie, and the DuckTales movie on it. I used to watch that all the time as a kid. It was the Bugs Bunny movie, DuckTales, and then for some reason at the end was Terminator 2. I watched that movie a lot growing up. I don't know what that says about me, but yeah. Terminator 2 is a phenomenal movie, and that and Jurassic Park, I think, are probably two of the most influential movies of the 90s. Those two really, you look at special effects and what movies were like in terms of action movies before those two, and then after, and it's night and day. I mean, they completely reinvented what.
Yeah, and Terminator 2 was very iconic, and there's a lot of parodies, especially when he's raising the finger when he's going into the lava.
Talk to the hand.
Oh yeah, that's in. Have you played Castle Crashers?
Yes.
One of the bosses is dying and does that when he's dying.
Yeah, he does the whole talk to the hand thing.
Yeah, that's awesome, and that's right there a great movie
because
because
I mean,
a lot of
when he goes
influence
to the
in the media has taken from Terminator 2.
I agree. I do agree with him on that one, actually.
Yeah, Sarah, you got anything you want to say about this before we head over to your picks?
Yeah, I was just trying to think of what movie sequels I've seen that are good. Like the second Hobbit movie, I thought was a little better than the first one because I didn't feel like the first Hobbit movie was kind of setting everything up, and then the second one, the biggest thing I remember was that entire gigantic scene with Smaug, whatever how you say it, the gigantic dragon. That was done so freaking well. But probably the best sequels that I've seen are honestly the second and third Star Wars movie. The original trilogy, obviously. So like Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. Like, I think the first Star Wars movie I ever watched was Return of the Jedi for some bizarre reason. I watched that entire trilogy so many times as a kid, and my sister and I would just watch it as a teenager, like, probably almost every weekend for an entire summer break.
Now, here's the question, though. When you went back and watched it, did you watch the original cut or the special editions?
We first watched the original ones when we were little, because my dad had the VHS tapes, and then he got the 97 special editions for Christmas, so we kind of worked our way up to how they are now, but somewhere somebody made DVD versions of the non-special editions. I don't know where they are, but I want to find them.
Oh, basically, what it is they took rips of the Laserdisc. Because the Laserdisc was...
Okay.
The Laserdisc that they released in the early 90s is the original cut with updated... with not so much updated graphics, but they cleaned up a lot of it. They remastered it. They digitally...
Oh, okay.
They cleaned up...
This movie, The People versus George Lucas? That's there.
Yeah.
About the original movies. And yeah, that was an amazing trilogy, the Star Wars.
That was still when Lucas wasn't really directing the sequels. He didn't direct Return or Empire. That was somebody else. Lucas was just a producer on that. And you can tell, especially when you look at the later Star Wars movies, that somebody else had to have a hand in making those movies. And
yeah,
I'm kind of glad that that's the case now with 7, 8, and 9, although I won't go too far into that.
I am excited for those, though.
I am too. Abrams has never let me down. Well, he hasn't let me down yet. In terms of a sequel for me that I really enjoyed, I gotta go Aliens. I gotta go James Cameron's Aliens.
Oh yeah, that was amazing.
Oh, to me, that's one of the best sequels I've ever seen. I mean, it does what, in my opinion, a sequel should do, which is to stay within the universe of the original movie, but take it in a different direction. You know, you've got Alien, which is this very claustrophobic, very haunted house alien movie, and its sequel is this big, bombastic action-adventure movie. But it fits. It doesn't feel out of place. It's not a complete 180 turn. And at the same time, you can tell that James Cameron really respected the source material because he really went out of his way to create a universe that fits in, you know, especially with his concept of the alien queen. You know, it's a great movie. It's filmed very smart the way it's filmed because, you know, we think of James Cameron now as this big budgeted director. I don't know if you guys know this. Aliens only had a budget of about $25 million. And it doesn't look like that. It looks like a movie that could come out now and look contemporary.
Yeah.
You know, the man just filmed a great movie. And to me, it's one of the great examples, like you said, of a movie that it takes the general idea and goes in a different direction, but still feels like a natural progression. You know, which I think is how a sequel should be.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, but then you have some sequels that I'm a little contentious with, and those are sequels that do the opposite, where they completely retcon the previous movie in order to create the necessity for a sequel.
Chronicles of Riddick.
Kinda. Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen either one. I'm thinking more, and Burhan, I know you and I love this movie, but I'll admit it's a very unnecessary sequel, and that's Ghostbusters 2. I think...
It's Ghostbusters 1. I've said this on Movie File. Ghostbusters 2 is Ghostbusters 1 for a PG audience.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically because... Okay, the ending of the first movie is they defeat the evil Gozer, they destroy the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, everybody's celebrating, everybody's happy, the Ghostbusters are heroes. The sequel... They're back to making very little money. They're all doing their own little projects. People
and
don't
no
really...
one they don't actually even say it. They just like do it in passing as well, don't they?
Yeah.
It's like, something happened and we're all broke again.
Yeah, they're all broke again. There's no more ghosts. No one believes in ghosts, and they're villains at this point. You know, the mayor is against them. You've got that new not Walter Peck character, and it's just they basically had to rewrite the ending of the last movie to coincide with this new one. You know, they retconned it just so they can get a sequel out. I mean, it's an unnecessary sequel.
How did they rewrite the ending of the first movie?
Well, in the first movie, they basically proved that ghosts exist. You know, everybody saw the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Everybody saw the big Gozer thing at the top of the hotel. You know, it's kind of hard to hide that, but for some reason now, in the span of 2 or 3 years, people don't believe in ghosts anymore. They've completely forgotten them, and they think that the Ghostbusters are frauds.
Yeah, it made no sense.
It made no sense. How do you do that? You know, you can't do that.
You saw them destroy this big fucking ghost and the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. That's what.
The Empire State Building.
Yeah, it made no sense, and I agree with you wholeheartedly on that. It's just like they've rebooted the movie. That's what they literally did.
Yeah.
The cartoon show was a better sequel.
What?
The cartoon show was a better sequel.
Actually, and Burhan, you can back me up on this. I think the third game is the perfect sequel to the first one. It basically is a sequel to the first movie. They don't even reference the events of the second movie. It's all about the characters and villain from the first one. And it works. Am I wrong, Burhan? Burhan?
What's that?
Well, he was talking about Mario had brought up that the cartoons are probably the better sequel for the series. I got to go the video game. I think that's.
I agree.
Yeah.
I've someone who's played video games.
I haven't played the game, but if you remember in the cartoon show, there's an episode in which the sweets from the movie are still baiting in that ooze from Gooser, and they walk, grab some of the equipment, and fight the Ghostbusters.
Oh, I remember that. I remember that episode.
I love that episode.
It's the one where their old suits come alive and they that's actually included on the Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2 DVD box set. If you ever buy that double pack from Walmart, they actually include several episodes of the real Ghostbusters, and that's one of them. So yeah, I remember that episode.
Yeah, that was amazing. I loved that when I was a kid.
Yeah, I do too. And look, I'm not saying that the movie I'm about to say is a masterpiece. It's not. It's a terrible movie. But you have a situation like Transformers 2, which, okay, the first movie ends. Everybody has seen that the Decepticons and the Autobots exist. They've seen that obviously Optimus Prime is a hero and all this other stuff. The sequel completely writes it so that Autobots and Decepticons are now secretive, and the Autobots are this undercover force that is out to destroy the
Again, it was part one done again.
True, but at the same time though, how do you explain that? I mean, I could kind of maybe explain that in 1991 Ghostbusters 2, information just didn't travel as much as it does now. You're talking the mid-2000s at this point. In an era where you can't even pick your nose out in the streets without some camera picking it up, you mean to tell me that the government was able to keep Autobots a secret after the huge events in New York in the first movie? It made no sense, and it was ridiculous. I mean, that's probably like number 847 of things wrong with that script, but it's another example of retconning the events of the previous movie in order to facilitate the need for a sequel in the second one.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's one of those things where you sit there and you think to yourself, it doesn't make sense. But I had a problem with the sequels and Transformers anyway. The third movie was even worse. The third movie was a carbon copy of number 2 to an exact point. And it was just like, the only thing that the third movie had that the other two movies didn't have was Shia LaBeouf bitching. I mean, for fuck's sake. This was like the start of his bitching phase.
Yeah, that goes into another topic I want to get into. When characters go in completely different directions than in the previous ones, because I like the first Transformers movie, and one of the reasons is because the Shia LaBeouf character is a little bit more relatable than he was in the latter movies. He's a very nerdy kid. He's got some charisma, but he seemed very likable and very genuine. In the sequels, he's completely unlikable, just whiny and just douchey.
I saved the world.
Yeah.
I saved the world. Fuck off.
I didn't even bother with the Transformers sequels, to be honest. And I
what?
You really hated how Megan Fox was portrayed in the first one.
You saved yourself a lot of heartache. Seriously, you saved yourself a lot of heartache, and you saved your own childhood from being raped. Because that's what I was like. Watching that, I had to literally go home after watching the third movie, put on Transformers the animated movie, sit back, relax, and just hear You Got the Touch. I was like, oh.
You forgot to mention the ice pack you had to sit on from the raping.
Yeah, and also I felt like I was anally raped by Michael Bay with explosions.
Yeah. Giggity. Yeah, I did not like the second movie. I thought it was... You could tell that movie was created by a piecemeal script, which is basically what happened. I mean, they had to basically cobble the script together before the writer's strike happened. So it completely just was not at all in the case. And folks, guess what, Burhan?
What's that?
Guess who we've got on the line?
Who's on the line?
Let me see if I can get him on off the line because it's not letting me actually bring him up.
Is he on the line?
He's on the line, but it says it says the mute button is X'd out and I can't get it on. How do I get?
Let me get him on.
Caller, are you online? Hello, caller.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah. Introduce yourself, sir.
Hey guys, it's Chris the Dace Man Dace.
Hey!
Hello.
The Dace Man, ladies and gentlemen.
I would go gay for Dace, I'm just saying.
Dace, what's going on, man? We appreciate you coming on the line. You are our first caller in a long time. Folks, if you don't know who Chris the Dace Man Dace is, check out his show, The Dace Man Show, on the Mega Powers Radio channel. What day and time is it, buddy?
Wednesday nights, 8 p.m. We kick off, and Mr. Burhan's usually a part of it as well.
I should have let Burhan introduce it then, because I just made myself look like a fool.
The last show I was on, I was doing my Michael Burhan phase, which is basically referring to myself in the third person. That's kind of over and done with now. That phase is kind of...
Is that where it started? I saw it just randomly on Facebook, and they had this gigantic conversation about it.
Yeah, it randomly started on the Retro Unlim's video cast that they usually do on Fridays, and it was directed directly at the console snob who went, "You always refer to yourself in the third person, and it's fucking annoying." I was like, okay, I'm going to keep doing it now. So I did it for an entire week, and console snob was messaging me going, stop doing it, you're fucking getting on my nerves. I was like, I'm going to do it harder, and I did.
And then we were on Facebook, Yumi and Xander. We had the funniest conversation, all in comments that I had for a long time.
Yes, and it was all entirely in third person, and it was brilliant. So, Dace, I know you've got something important to tell us, mate, so go for it.
Yes, I was just calling in. I wanted to let you guys know that I was listening to the show, and I was hoping to touch out to your audience that this weekend we're doing our charity event, A Daystacular Gaming for a Cause, with all proceeds going to St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital, and we will be kicking off at noon on Saturday and running till Sunday at noon playing games for 24 hours. And I figured you guys have an appreciation for video games and such, and you guys are doing great on your show here.
Yeah,
thanks,
of course.
Man, I really appreciate that.
And also, Michael Burhan is going to be on there, so Dace and me are going to test my camera to see if I can actually get access on the feed as well to be playing games on the Daystacular Game for the Cause, guys, because it's an important cause for St. Jude's. And make sure if you haven't donated, donate, or you're a terrorist.
You guys are doing a live Let's Play? What are you guys going to be playing?
Donate or you're a commie.
We're playing retro games from 12 to 4. 4 to 8, we're going to be doing sports. 8 to midnight will be random stuff. Midnight to 4 a.m. will be shooting games. 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. will be anything that's kind of perverted. And then 8 a.m. till noon will be superhero games. So it's all kinds of stuff, and we'll have the live feed on fanboysanonymous.com.
Nice.
Sounds
And
cool.
this is Saturday, you said, right?
Yes, sir.
I'll definitely have to look into that. I'll talk to Burhan after the show. He can set me up some. He can tell me how to be a part of that, because I just got myself a webcam. So if anything, I'd love to be a part of that.
Definitely. The more the merrier.
Also, as well, ladies and gents, I'm going to make sure we put a live feed on that. We'll source the live feed with approval of fanboysanonymous.com, onto nerdgenius.com as well, onto Facebook. Let's get that feed out there to everybody, and we're going to make sure people that you donate. We've got to have the Retro Unlim video cast as well coming up. I'm going to make sure that everybody pulls for this to get donated. How much have you got left in terms of your total left, Ace?
Well, the cool thing is we are at $575 right now. Our ambitious goal was $1,500. If we hit 1,000, that'll be great. So we are 38% of our way to the total goal, more than 50% to the what I think will actually happen.
Right, ladies and gents, remember to donate and be Daystacular, because if you donate, you get to win one out of many prizes, of course. And Dace, what are those prizes?
So we've got a $50 gift card to Amazon.com, a $25 gift card to GameStop.com, $25 to AMC Theaters, $50 to, I got this, Cheesecake Factory, a Marvel paperback event pack, which will see the Secret Invasion Civil War, House of M, and Avengers vs. X-Men as our big prize. And another big prize, Mr. Burhan, if you'd like to take it away.
Yes, we've got the I Got Gameplay Special Edition T-shirt. I'm actually getting one made for Zach Latour for his birthday because I love Zachy so much. And another one is going to be made. There's only 2 of these T-shirts. It's a special Silent Hill Edition I Got Gameplay T-shirt with Zach Latour and Travis Goss on the cover. So you're going to see the nice little I Got Gameplay Silent Hill banner that we did for that show. Is going to be printed on that T-shirt. On the back will be a special I Got Gameplay message as well. And I'm going to get everybody in regards to the I Got Gameplay show, and I am going to talk to lovely people, including the guest that we going to have this Saturday, Rob Mann, his lovely wife Tam, to sign that T-shirt for you guys. I'm going to try and have a word with so many of my other friends out there in Facebook land that I'm in touch with and beg loads of YouTube celebrities to sign this T-shirt. All you need to do is donate. If you donate $500, I believe you'll be in a shoo-in for this T-shirt. So donate, get that goal, meet that target, and trust me, if you do, I will approach every single person. I will ask Al Lowe people, the man behind Leisure Suit Larry, and a good friend of mine on Twitter. I will get him to sign that T-shirt as well. I will ask Alpha Omega Sin. I'm not going to say that he'll probably say yes, but I will ask him. I will ask the Happy Console Gamer, Johnny Millennium, if he doesn't mind signing that T-shirt as well, if he says yes to that. I've got Xander Scullion from the Excess Gaming Podcast, Zach Latour and Carlo DePietro from the Getting Your Nerd On, Travis Goss from Rose Colored Reviews. I will get a slew of YouTubers out there that I can try and get to come and sign this T-shirt for you, and I will pay for this T-shirt to go all the way around the world getting it signed for the person eventually to have it at their door so that they have a piece of history. All you have to do is donate, and donate generously.
Well, Dace, I appreciate you being on, man, and we definitely would love to help out with your cause, man. It's great that you're doing this. It's great that you're giving back to the community, and if you want to, what was I going to say? If you want to keep going with the show today, we'd love to have you on. We'll keep you on the line. We've got about 20 more minutes of the show. We're talking movie sequels. If you want to chime in on that, it's up to you.
I just wanted to stop in and tell you guys are doing a great job. Love the show, and I want thank you for the airtime to plug the event. Keep up the good work. I love listening. You guys rock.
Oh, definitely, and spread the word, man. We need more people listening in on the show, so definitely spread the word. Get our names out there. We're trying our hardest.
And I will say, ladies and gents, Dace has got a big heart as well, so kudos to Dace for this, for the whole Dace Man gaming for a cause there, people.
Thank you, guys. Have a great night. Keep up the good work, and we'll get this show on the roll.
All right, thanks, Dace. See you later, buddy. All right, that was Chris Dace, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to join in on the chat, 718-664-9265. It looks like Dace is still logged in on the chat. So if you want to talk to the Dace Man himself, if you're a fan of the Dace Man show, log into our Flash chat, and you can talk to Dace right here. He's sitting right there on the chat. I'm looking at him right now. In fact, I'm going to type a hello Dace message right here on the chat. There we go. There, it's out there. He knows it.
In my bathroom a minute ago, I went inside, opened the door to just go and do my business, and there was a small mouse, and I jumped like a little schoolgirl. It was horrendous. This mouse was struggling to try and find its way out of the bathroom. I was jumping up and down, screaming like a little bitch. It was so funny, people. I'm not going to reenact it because I don't think it should be reenacted. It was Michael Burhan being, in Arnold's words, a girly man.
I'm kind of sorry for the mouse.
Yeah, I'm kind of thrown off a bit. I got to figure out where we were, where we were on.
We were talking about movie sequels, as you were saying.
Yeah, we were. By the way, Burhan, can you do me a favor while I'm introducing the next bit? Can you paste the show link onto the chat so Mario can get in on the Flash chat?
Sure, I can do that for you.
Thanks. Just kind of because I can't do two things at once. I'm bad at that. But yeah, that leads us into another topic of sequels that go into a completely different direction than their previous movie and don't pull that off. You know, we talked about Aliens, how it went from being a claustrophobic, haunted house, alien movie, although in space, to an action-adventure movie. Well, that's not always the case with certain sequels. I'm thinking Highlander 2. We mentioned Highlander 2 in the pre-show. It completely goes into a direction that no one was expecting and no one wanted. I mean, you know, Highlander is a great movie. It very much is an urban fantasy. You know, it's got very much almost a medieval kind of feel to it, especially when you're talking about medieval Scotland and the whole Highlander motif. To go from that to a cyber future where the ozone layer is destroyed and there's this bubble shield around the Earth, and the Highlanders are now aliens from Zeist, and you know they're able to reset the whole Highlander gathering thing by just appearing, and it's just so ridiculous and such a mess. I can't believe Russell Mulcahy agreed to make this movie. Even he hates that movie from what I...
And Ramirez was already dead and they brought him back and it was just like, what happened?
With no explanation. It just happens.
He's just like...
It's like, Ramirez! Krakow! And he's back.
Yeah, what's terrible?
He's like, I've just been rebooted.
Yeah.
You know, out of nowhere. I'm just sitting there, I was like, Ramirez, you Scottish bastard, what are you doing back? Oh, I'm sorry, Egyptian bastard. Yeah.
I do admit, Sean Connery does make that movie pleasant to watch. You know, there's that moment where he learns the Force, you know, when he's like, if you can focus your entire life into 1 second, you can accomplish the impossible. And then the bagpipes fade up, and then he's able to levitate that fan up above. It's so dumb, but that movie is a train wreck. And even with the recuts and the re-edits that Russell Mulcahy has done with the Renegade cut, it's still a terrible sequel. But it goes into that whole, you know, you went in this direction and just went insane with it. You know, this is not a good example of going into a different direction with a movie.
Yeah,
I agree. No, I totally agree with you on it. It's one of those things where it became kind of an environmental movie that just given the Highlander name. But like, we'll add the key characters, we'll make this movie work somehow, and then afterwards everybody was just like, what the fuck did we just do? It was like, do you know one of those parties where you just get drunk and you don't remember what happened and everyone's telling you what happened, and then you wake up and you're next to this big monstrous woman with hair on her back and you're like, what did I just do?
You know, it kind of, to me, kind of falls into that whole Super Mario Brothers movie vibe of, this movie does not feel like it's source material, but I can't really say it would be worse if it wasn't attached to it. Like, if you took Highlander 2 as a movie and made it its own thing, completely ripped out all the elements of it that aren't related to Highlander.
Including the characters?
Yeah, replace the characters with just other generic characters. I don't know if the movie would have been that bad. I mean, it's got an ambition to it in terms of its set design, in terms of a lot of the things it's done, although it does kind of rip off Blade Runner here and there, but we won't get into that.
It should have been a Conan movie.
How great would that actually, I wouldn't mind seeing that, where it's almost like Beastmaster 2, where Conan finds a time portal and he gets transported into the future. I can see that. It's the 80s.
Yeah, I agree. It's the 80s.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where it's like, yeah, this was when we made love to people's faces.
Yeah. This is when cocaine was a big factor in the development of movies.
It's a hell of a drug.
Speaking of very epic Conan-esque movies, talking about another movie that went into a different direction, and I'm kind of 50-50 on this, The Chronicles of Riddick. You mentioned that before.
Yeah, the thing is, The Chronicles of Riddick, I liked it as a standalone movie. I really did. But I was talking to Tam Man, like Rob's wife, about this recently, because we both watched Riddick and we wanted to compare notes on the third movie out of the lot.
How is it, by the way? Because I haven't seen it, but I want to see it.
It's a wannabe Pitch Black. It's good. It's not amazing. It's one of those movies as a standalone movie again. As a direct sequel to the first movie, it would make sense. They added elements of the second movie to it to try and make it make sense, but in a sense it was like, yeah.
Oh,
I
you
know
mean
what you're trying.
Yeah, I know about the beginning where basically, for those of you who haven't seen it, spoiler alert, Carl Urban basically pops up as his character from the second movie and basically strands Riddick on an island by himself, and that's kind of how the third movie kicks off.
Yeah, it's one of those where it's like, I understand what you're doing, but there was no point in doing it, and it made no sense in a sense. If that makes sense.
Well, from what I've heard, the big character reason why they did that is because Riddick basically became like Conan. He fell into a situation where he was this big leader, but he had no kingdom to basically conquer. He was just kind of sitting there in his chair with his throng of naked women that basically is around him, which from what I've heard it's a sight worth seeing. I don't know if I'm
it's one of those where it looked fun because it seemed like a Conan movie, and for me, that's what it should be, But in a sense, it didn't make. I can understand why a lot of people were annoyed with it, because Tam was annoyed with it as well. She was like, it was too Conan-y, and I was like, exactly, that was so awesome. But she's like, no, I didn't like it, and I can understand why. Because it drifted away from the source material, because the first movie was kind of sort of that horror genre type survival horror-esque thing going on.
Wait, more than you know. Do you know what the original Pitch Black script was?
What was it?
It was originally an Alien 3 script. David Twohy at one point was commissioned to write a script for Alien 3, and they decided not to use it, and he used his script later on, changed a few bits and pieces here and there, and it became Pitch Black. So Pitch Black is kind of an unofficial Alien 3 movie.
And the thing is as well, if you think about it, Riddick was always the anti-hero. He was never meant to be the hero. He was the guy, if anyone knew if they could trust him or not. He was never the main character.
Yeah.
Then they bounced off of that to make a Riddick movie because they wanted to center on the character. But Universal got involved and they turned it into sort of a adventure movie. And that, again, that was fine. It was fine for what it was, but then Vin Diesel took it back and was like, I'm putting this movie back in its roots, and made kind of a half-assed version of Pitch Black. It wasn't, and as I've said this again, the first movie was great because it was great as a standalone movie. The second movie was great as a standalone movie. It was a good standalone movie. The third movie
feels like it's trying to chase the coattails of the first movie.
Yeah, it's more the fact that it's trying to be nostalgia for nostalgia's sake, but gets nostalgia wrong. Because all the monsters and stuff, they're just wildlife that's on the planet. It makes no sense. And it turns into monsters fighting man fighting man. And then there's a stupid scene in a bit where Batista's character ends up betraying them for no reason. Just out of the blue. And most of it was because there was a bounty on Riddick's head, but the guy who had the bounty on Riddick's head, one of the guys that was going to let them collect the bounty on Riddick's head was there. And you had the main villain who was supposed to collect the bounty, and then he gets tossed aside for a different main villain. And this happened a lot in this movie, where you had one central type of characters that Riddick was supposed to go after because they betrayed him, and then another guy comes in as the main villain, and another guy becomes the main villain, and then Riddick just ignores it, and then it turns into a whole situation where everyone has mutual respect and live happily ever after and all that bullshit, and it makes no sense. You even have a lesbian character who then keeps going on about fucking Riddick, but she's a lesbian.
Yeah, I've heard that. I actually want to see that because I'm a big Katie Sackhoff fan. I was a big fan of Battlestar Galactica. She's one of the reasons why I actually really do want to see it, because I'm a really big fan of hers.
The problem is, I think her character is badly written, and a lot of the characters in this movie, apart from Riddick, are badly written because they're just there for show.
From what I've heard, and I'm going by what Brad Jones said in his review of it, the Cinema Snob. He says the vibe that he got was that it's very much a B movie script. It was written as kind of an old school, 80s era B movie. which is the vibe that he got from it. And he said he liked that vibe, that it feels like a low-budget Italian film, like it seems like something that would have come from like Bruno Mattei.
Yeah. It's one of those films where, as I said, as a standalone, it's very B-movie-esque in terms of its charms, but in terms of the characterization of everybody else, none of these characters have depth, apart from one of the main characters who has a link to Riddick from one of the previous movies, which I'm not going to say, because it doesn't. If I say it, it will ruin the whole movie for you. So go out there, watch it. There are some nice moments in this movie, and I will say this, there are some nice moments. With every movie there are moments, and this movie has its nice moments, but it's still something that was very badly written in terms of the characters and the way that they wanted it, because it literally seems like a pitch black fan movie.
Yeah, want to throw it out there, by the way. I want to mention two things. First off, welcome to the chat, Anime Courtyard Radio. A bit of a shout-out for being in the chat. We love having you on. Obviously, Dace is also in there. Love to have you guys on there. Thanks for being a part of the show, guys. Thanks for listening in on us. We got less than 5 minutes left in the main chat, and then we're going to go into our archived version. So, guys, if you want to get your information out there, if you want to talk about sequels, what sequels you like, what sequels you hate, 718-664-9265 is the number to call. We're going to probably end up slipping into our second hour, well, the archive section. And for that one, I want to talk about some sequels that I've actually written down. I went on a couple of websites for some lists of bad sequels, and I've kind of cherry-picked some of the more infamous ones that they've written down, and I figure in the second half we could talk about that. But we're talking about sequels, and we just got off of sequels that kind of go off the deep end in terms of their original movies, and I want to get this off my chest because I talked about one of the reasons why I hate Warner Brothers and what they do to their franchises. Let's talk about The Matrix, because the Matrix movies tend to pop up on lists of bad sequels. I don't hate the movies. I like the Matrix sequels. I think that they're really good, but do you guys want to know why the sequels were not as good as the original one?
Sure.
Okay. All right, sit back. Here's the story about it. When the Wachowski brothers, now the Wachowski siblings, because obviously if you don't know, one of them had a sex change operation, so it's now a brother.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did they?
Yeah. One of the
Is he
Wachowski.
hot? That's all I need to know. Is she hot?
I have no idea. I haven't seen pictures, but they
Well,
started.
I've got
What
some
kind of question
pictures.
is that?
Yeah, they started off as the
I-
Wachowski brothers, and now they are the Wachowski brother and Wachowski sister. But when they originally wrote the transcript when they originally wrote their deal with Warner Brothers for The Matrix, it was a 3-picture deal. But
Oh my God, he's an ugly woman.
You were Googling that?
I did. I googled it. It's not.
Unbelievable.
Oh my goodness, now I have to.
anyway, as I was saying, when the Wachowski siblings signed on their deal for The Matrix, it was a 3-picture deal like they have now. But here's the thing. When they signed their deal, it was the original Matrix, the sequel, and then a prequel movie that was going to explain the events that led up to the first movie. It was going to explain all the stuff that led up to the creation of the machine.
Which was the Animatrix.
Yes,
by the way.
elements of that were put into the Animatrix. Then the first movie comes out and it's a big hit. So Warner Brothers basically said, we're scrapping your deal, you're making us 2 sequels. And keep in mind, they had one script for 1 sequel, because that's what their plan was. So the Warner Brothers goes up to them and goes, we want you to make 2 sequels. We don't want the prequel, because in their words, no one's going to buy a third movie without the original cast in it. You know, they don't think that they would have sold the third movie if it was a prequel, because the original, you wouldn't have a Neo, a Trinity, or a Morpheus in there, obviously. So they forced them to rewrite their story. They basically said, listen, we're Warner Brothers. We're giving you the money to do this. Here's a dump truck full of money. Rewrite your script for 2 movies. And that's why, if you notice, the second and the third movies are insanely bloated. You can tell that these movies were just padded to the gills with unnecessary special effects, with a lot of side characters and scenes that go nowhere. I mean, basically, folks, we're heading into the 60-minute mark. If you want to keep listening in on us, we got the archived version coming up. I'm going to keep pissing and moaning about the Matrix movies because I'm very passionate about this. So go ahead, check us out. I don't know if the chat's going to close on, so guys, if you're still in there, we might still be recording after this, but in terms of the live show, we're going to be out in a couple seconds. So check us out on the archive show. Thanks for listening in on us, guys. But yeah, as I was saying, with the second and third movies, more so the third than the second one, you could tell there's some good ideas. Because I watched the second and third movies recently. You can tell there are bits and pieces that are remnants of that original script, but they're just cluttered with all of this nonsense. And I feel bad because I could tell the Wachowskis were trying for something smart. They were trying for something good, and Warner Brothers basically went in and they basically were like, you're going to do what we say, you're going to do it the way we want to because we're Warner Brothers and we're giving you money. That's why, people were wondering why the second and third movie were filmed together. That's because they weren't supposed to be two movies. They were supposed to be one movie. And it really bugs me because they sabotaged that movie. It's unfortunate because, like I said, I like the second and third movies. I see the genius in it, past all the clutter. But it really sucks.
Yeah, it's one of those things. And by the way, I found a better looking picture of the Wachowski sister.
Thanks.
She looks okay in that one. But yeah, I just wanted to see. She looks okay, and I support transgender change in men and women. It's fine. I have a transgender friend who's awesome, and she is an amazing person. Anyway, and kind of, if I look at the Wachowski sister from the side, she kind of looks kind of hot. Anyway, going on to the whole Matrix situation, I agree. They had no idea what they were doing in terms of this. It made no sense for me in terms of the last two movies kind of bastardized it, and it was like they killed. What made me laugh was they killed Trinity off in the second movie, and then the third movie only to revive her back, and then the third movie they just destroyed her, they demolished her.
Well, it goes back to what I was saying. I have a feeling that was done to pad out the runtime. That they probably had her dying in that sequel movie, and then they were like, no, you can't have her. We can't have her die in the second movie. We can't bring her back in the third. Rewrite that. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case.
It made no sense. And it was one of those things where you sat there and just went, okay. There was a load of stuff that made no sense to me. And in terms of what happened with that movie as well, it became, the third one was literally filler. The second one could have ended things so easily, but they just kept doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it. So, yeah, and that.
Well, it fell into the whole thing of basically the third movie was just one big third act,
Yeah.
That's what happens when you pad out your movie like that. It's kind of the situation we're seeing with a lot of these movies nowadays that are being split up into two parts. You have a lot of that with the young adult adaptations like Harry Potter and Twilight and The Hunger Games, where they take the third movie, which is already tightened up as is, and they split it into two movies, and it ends up affecting it. That's one of the big criticisms I heard from the Harry Potter, the last two movies for that, and the same thing with Twilight, is that the first movies are boring. They're padded out like crazy, and then the second ones are just nothing but action. The pacing is just completely off.
Well,
Yeah.
in the case of Harry Potter, that actually makes sense. There was so much stuff in the seventh book, but I feel like with the case of Twilight, they're literally just like, oh, Harry Potter did that. We're just going to cash it in on it. Also, Twilight's a hell of a lot worse. So, but I think in the case of Harry Potter, there actually was a point to it. In the case of Twilight and possibly Hunger Games, they're just like, oh, cool, Harry Potter did that. This is totally a really good strategic decision. Let's do that instead.
Yeah, and from what I'm hearing, they're also doing that for the Hunger Games, the third Hunger Games movie.
Yeah, they are. I have no idea why. Technically there is a lot of stuff that goes on in that book, but I don't know if it's really the best decision.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of falls into that whole thing. Like I said, it's all about padding, and it makes me upset because I'd like to see an edit of those two movies where somebody can go in and edit out what scenes were padded and just kind of make it one condensed movie. Because, like I said, I could see bits and pieces of it that I like. You know, there are some things that, and I'll even admit, some of the more bloated special effects scenes I kind of like the truck chase scene with the two vampire characters and what's his name? Was it Morpheus? I think was the one driving the truck. Yeah. And that and the fight scene with all the Smiths. I love that scene. That scene's one of my favorite scenes.
That's a famous scene, I think. Yeah.
And it reminds me also, it also goes back to my problem with Warner Brothers is the fact that they also had them put parts of the movie in there that tied into the video game. Remember Enter the Matrix?
Really?
Yeah, there are parts in the second and third movie that are there just so that they can tie in with the third movie. For instance, at the beginning of the third movie, when they have that train man, the scene where Neo is in that train station and they have that new character that just pops in for no apparent reason.
Nope.
Burhan, do you know what I'm talking about?
What's that?
In the third movie, when Neo is stuck in the Matrix and he's in that train station.
Yes.
I remember.
Yeah, that character doesn't do much in the movie, but in the video game, Enter the Matrix, he's much more fleshed out. He actually is the main character in there. Because I always wondered that when I first saw that. I'm like, what's this? Who is this character? When I played Enter the Matrix, they had a lot more scenes with him. Same thing with the Merovingian's wife. She plays a much bigger role in the video game. So it's like, all right, you forced that in there so you can tie it in with this video game. That's my mindset with that. And I'm like... It goes back to my issue with Warner Brothers and how they completely treat their franchises just as money-making tools. They have no respect for their actual source material of their characters, unlike Marvel, which, you know, Disney gives them free reign to do whatever they want, and 9 times out of 10 it works.
Yeah. No, I agree. Do we need to even go into the whole situation with Venom and Spider-Man?
Yes, we can. I have one question though. What's the name of the Star Fox music on the soundboard?
It's IGG. I believe.
Commercial.
Commercial, yes.
Okay. All right. For those of you that are out in the archived versions, and I think Sarah has the right idea right now. We're going to take a bit of a time out. I'm going to throw some music up to kind of pass the time. But I've been talking for about 2 hours now, and I need to take care of some things. So we're going to throw some music on there. It's just going to be a little bit of an intermission, and we'll be back for kind of the main event of this archived version. Folks, this is the archived version of the Untitled Movie Show, Episode 6, Movie Sequels. There you go.
Man, every young hot shot in the outer rim comes gunning for me sooner or later.
Feeling free and it feels so right. Oh, time to do the things I like. Gonna see a princess, everything's alright. Oh, no job but an answer to. Ain't a fixture in the palace too. No, and since I carbonized off me, I'm living life now that I'm free. Yeah, told me get myself together. Now I got myself together. Yeah, now I made it through the weather. Better days are gonna get better. I'm so happy. The carbonite is gone. I'm moving on. I'm so happy that it's over now. The pain is gone. I'm putting on my shades to cover up my eyes. I'm jumping in my ride. I'm heading out tonight. I'm solo. I'm hot solo. I'm hot solo. I'm hot solo. Solo. Picking up my plaster, putting it on my time. I'm jumping in my Falcon. Whoop, we have the time. I'm solo. I'm hot solo. I'm hot solo. I'm hot
reference to JonTron there. We're back. Sorry about that, folks. We had to take care of some things. But we are back to the main part of the archive show that I wanted to get into, which was I found some movies. I found some lists online of what people consider to be some of the worst sequels in movie history, well, in recent history. So I took some of the more noteworthy ones, and I figured we could talk about those and kind of just voice your opinions on them if we have seen them or not. And the first movie I want to start off with is actually a very notorious sequel. I've never seen any of the movies in this series, even though I really should, considering it's a classic. But The Godfather Part 3. Have any of you guys seen this movie?
I have,
Yes.
but I really don't remember.
That movie was painful. It was still a good Godfather movie, but it was painful.
Yeah, I've never seen it, but from what I've heard, the biggest problem was the original movie itself didn't really lend much to a sequel. Even the second one really isn't so much a sequel as half of it's a prequel and the other half just tells the events of the first movie through the eyes of another character. This one is the first actual sequel of the first Godfather, and it falls into that whole realm of being an unnecessary sequel. And it doesn't help that, from what I've heard, Sofia Coppola, Francis Ford Coppola's daughter, can't act to save her own life, and she's a big part of the movie. Burhan, you've seen this movie. Can you verify that what I'm saying is correct?
She can't act to save her fucking life.
Better or worse than Channing Tatum?
Worse.
Ooh. All right, that's a pretty big testament that right there.
No, I agree. I think she is worse than Channing Tatum. Channing Tatum's a good actor. He's not amazing, but he is a good actor.
Can I hang up on him right now, guys?
Well, on me.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. I'm not hanging up on you.
Why?
Just the whole.
Well, because I think Channing Tatum's a good actor. He is. It's like you think Dwayne Johnson's a good actor. I think he's just terrible, but you think he's a good actor.
Okay, all right, you're right. Okay, I will concede to that. I think Dwayne Johnson's a great actor. You think Channing Tatum's a great actor. Speaking of which, have you guys?
Not great. Good.
Okay.
There you go.
Speaking of which, you hear that they might try to bring him back in the third G.I. Joe movie?
How? He was on a landmine!
No, they're going to figure out a way to bring him back, supposedly.
Robo Tatum. I don't understand. I don't get this.
It's G.I. Joe. They're going to make something up. You know.
What, the rise of Robo Tatum?
Maybe.
Make it a clone.
Or clone, yeah. They want to get Channing Tatum back on because he's a big star, which I can kind of understand. I didn't hate him as much in the first G.I. Joe. I thought he was okay. I mean, G.I. Joe himself is a very two-dimensional character, so what better way than to get a two-dimensional actor to play the role? And he did all right. You know, I thought Marlon Wayans was the better part of that movie.
Yeah, he was. They killed it. Yeah, at least they killed Channing Tatum on screen. They killed Marlon Wayans off screen. He was like, they didn't even give me a chance to fucking get myself killed.
Yeah, I would have loved to have seen him pop up in the second movie. I was a big fan of his.
Yeah, I was too. I think he's a good actor as well. You know, in terms of the way that they did things, and it was kind of one of those things where they did it in the same way that the Fast and Furious movies did. They transitioned the movie from one type of movie to another.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, they basically, 2 was supposed to be the apology for 1. You know, because a lot of people didn't like that. Like I said, I don't hate 1. I think it's a standard popcorn film. Yeah,
it's the same. It was one of those things where if they expanded on the story, it would have worked. And in a sense, though, it did. The second movie did give me inspiration for my idea about the Green Lantern reboot, which I was talking to you about. I talked your ear off about that.
Yeah.
And the way that I had that movie planned, it was pretty similar in the way that they did the G.I. Joe movie. So, you know, kudos to them for doing what they did. But in terms of Channing Tatum, he shouldn't have died.
All right. Next up, we've got a movie that I don't know what to say about this movie. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, the fourth Indiana Jones movie. Is it really as bad as people have said it is? I mean, I've only seen the first Indiana Jones. I have not seen the fourth one. I've heard nothing good. I mean, for God's sake, South Park invested an entire episode on riffing the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull?
I personally thought it was okay when I saw it in theaters, but the whole Shia LaBeouf being the guy's son and, surviving an atomic blast in a lead-encased fridge seems kind of weird to me.
I'm okay with that. That's one of the things I think people give too much flack for it. I mean, come on, if you've seen Temple of Doom, he escapes flying out of a plane by floating down on a raft.
Yeah.
My issue is...
And the giant... Yeah.
God, I will continue my train of thought in a second after you get yours out.
Okay. Oh. Where else was I going with that?
You said about the whole... You went about the whole fridge incident thing.
Yeah, but I guess when you think about it, it's supposed to be like the action movie. Like it's kind of, you have to suspend your disbelief. I think the weirdest thing I found about it was the aliens. Just like, okay, we've done religion, we've done the Ark, we've done God knows what else, but it was always centered around religion or historical things, like things pertaining to Earth's history. Then it's like, the kingdom, the crystal skulls are aliens, and I'm like, that doesn't feel like Indiana Jones to me, and I feel a little slightly violated.
I don't know. I never had a problem with that, to be honest. I mean, a lot of people complain about how he survived the nuke in the refrigerator, but it's just a movie, just for fun. Like you said, he survived from a plane using a boat. That's silly, and nobody's making a fuss about that.
Yeah, it's a suspended disbelief.
Indiana Jones has got silly stuff in all the movies. When all that guy is doing, all that stuff with the sword, and he takes the gun and boom, then...
Oh, that was funny.
Fights over in a second. Okay, Indiana Jones has been silly from the beginning, and that's something I love from the movies.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know why people complain about this last movie.
I had no issue between the first half of the movie and the fact that they killed off every remaining family member that he had up until, they reunited with his sweetheart and stuff. The first part of the movie was great. He was you could show how old Indy was. He wasn't the kind of adventurer that would jump off cliffs and use his whip and try and be like super agile and strong. He had to use his brain a lot more.
Yeah.
And you saw it with his powers of deduction, the way that he deduced things, and the way that he was using his mind to sort of unravel the mystery that was going on. My big problem with this movie was one man.
Shia LaBeouf?
Yes.
Yeah, that was weird.
Steven Spielberg had an obsession with Shia LaBeouf.
He still does. I don't get it. I don't understand why. You know what?
Jewish. That's why.
I'll be honest. At first, I didn't hate it because I kind of akin it to Scorsese being obsessed over Leonardo DiCaprio post Titanic. I was like, oh God, he's gonna put him in everything.
If you've seen DiCaprio in The Wolf of Wall Street, oh my fucking God.
Oh, he's gotten light years better than his performance in Titanic. I mean, and I don't even think he's that bad in Titanic. I think his problem was he kind of fell into typecasting. I think after that he did, Romeo and Juliet? So he kind of fell into the whole romantic typecasting, but he's hopped leaps and bounds. You'd think that would have been the case with Shia, but I don't know, man. He hasn't done anything that's really made me think he's anything worth Spielberg getting all excited about,
He hasn't quite been broken out yet.
Well, he's pretty much killed his legacy with all the plagiarism nonsense and all the stuff he's been doing in his public life. I mean, he's pretty much tainted his legacy. Was that the soundboard, or was that somebody just happening to drive a car by somebody?
That was car.
Oh, okay. I thought I had the soundboard button. I'm like, when did we put a car on the soundboard?
Right next to an avenue here.
All right, but yeah, you know what? I might give Kingdom of the Crystal Skull a chance. I mean, aside from the Shia LaBeouf stuff and the CGI, I know a lot of people had an issue with that, given how low budget how low budget the first 3 movies were. The fact that they had that whole scene with him and the monkeys just looked ridiculous. But
yeah.
No, go ahead.
Basically, the whole issue with that whole thing and the monkeys and also the alien thing at the end, that was a huge cop out. And it was George Lucas's freaking thing with aliens. And I remember when Spielberg actually said about it, he's like, it's the movie that George Lucas wanted to make. Because everyone went out.
So was episodes 1 through 3, but we've seen what happened with that.
No, but he said it in a way of, it's a movie that George Lucas needs to make. That's it.
So he's basically doing what everybody else involved did.
In the end.
Yeah, he did like shit on the movie. He was like, it's the movie that George Lucas wanted to make.
So just leave it at that.
Yeah, that's all he said. It was like, I'm leaving it at that. Shia LaBeouf was one who went and shat on the entire movie and went, yeah, it was shit to begin with. You know, I didn't understand what we were doing there.
He even threw Harrison Ford under the bus. He was like, yeah, even Harrison agrees with me. And Harrison had to be like, no, don't listen to this idiot. He doesn't. Don't bring me into this. Sleep in it.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell happened in terms of the whole situation in terms of that, but Shia LaBeouf and Aliens, they were my 2 main problems. I think if George Lucas stayed hands off on the movie, it probably would have been a better movie.
Well, speaking of movies that I don't understand the hatred for, I mentioned this before, I haven't seen the first iteration of this movie. I've heard nothing but good things, but Ocean's 12, I've heard nothing but bad things about this movie, and I haven't seen the first one, although I want to see it because I've heard a lot of good things about it. I've heard nothing good about the second one. Have either of you guys seen it? Is it really as bad as people say it is?
I have not seen it yet.
What was that?
Ocean's 12.
I don't like the Ocean series, and the reason being is because of the fact that John Cheadle plays a very racist Englishman. I have never heard someone try and put on an English accent and do, oh my blimey, dear God. Oh, I'm trying to start it out now, and I'm trying to sit here and do it, I am.
Yeah, he basically went straight Cockney.
Yeah, no, he tried straight Cockney and then went back and he was going back and forth from his American accent to a weird Cockney accent, back to his American accent again, and that was so painful I had to turn the movie off.
I could see that because I got that same vibe. I've seen clips of it. My parents have it on DVD, and I remember watching a clip of it. And yeah, I got that vibe immediately from Don Cheadle. I'm like, wow, this is bad. This is trying. This would be like me trying to do a British accent, and you don't want to hear that.
The thing is, I don't mind it if it's done well. It's like I can put on a decent American accent, but I probably can't put on an American accent that if you go over and put me in a movie, that would sound decent. So I would go and get a thing called voice training for that, you know?
Would it be better than Jason Statham's southern accent that he had in Parker?
Yes.
I remember seeing that in the trailer. I'm like,
okay.
What are you doing, Statham?
I'm going to do a general American accent now.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Excuse me. I love the fact everyone's just gone silent. That really helps.
We're waiting.
You are waiting. Okay. Hey guys, how's it going? My name's Michael Burhan, and I am here on the Untitled Movie Show with Miguel Leon.
That's more of just enunciation, really. I mean, it's not going from Hugh Laurie's British accent to Dr. House. That's a huge leap forward.
Because he's created a character. That's why. With me, in order to create a character, I have to basically build something up from that. Hugh Laurie, he has a very, very dark, very deep kind of voice. And with mine, it's kind of going from a transition to very light, very sparkly. Hey, how's it going?
Yeah.
You guys having a great day?
Well, that's how Hugh Laurie starts. If you've ever seen, the third season of Blackadder, I mean, he very much has a very high-pitched, almost dopey cadence to his British accent, and then obviously hopping from that to the much low-tone, darker house accent.
Yeah, and what I'm putting on is a general American accent because everything is always, hey, how's it going? How you doing? And then you can just basically like put a character around that and build that character up. What most do is when they put an accent, most guys, I think there was an Englishman who was in, what was that Will Smith movie where he played the superhero?
Hancock.
And he goes, hello, Hancock. He goes really extra with it. And it just, you sit there and you look at it and you think, is he trying to play the mother, George's mom in Seinfeld? Why don't you be quiet? Something like that. And you look at him and you think, I have no idea what the fuck you're doing. That's not an American accent. You're American people look at him and go, what the fuck is that guy doing? And that's the same when I look at Don Cheadle when he does it on the
Ocean's movies.
Oh yeah, on the Ocean's movies. Sorry, I'm forgetting my freaking place here. On the Ocean's movies, and he sounds like this most of the time. And you look at him and you think, that's not how English people sound. Stop doing that. I want to slap you. And it gets to the point where it gets so frustrating that if I ever saw John Cheadle in public, I probably would punch him. It just sounds really racist.
Well,
by the way, how do people rate my American accent? Was that okay?
I'm good. Yeah, folks, if you want to leave a comment or something, I don't know if they could leave comments on the actual show page, but if you can leave comments, just rate Burhan's accent between 1 and 10. 10 being house and 1 being Madonna's fake British accent that she put on in the mid-2000s.
Hello, my name is Madonna.
Woman, you're from Staten Island. You shut your mouth.
Yeah, exactly. So, what was your opinion, Miguel? Come on.
On what? On your accent?
Yeah.
It was all right. I mean, it like I said, it was a little more enunciation than actually putting on a character, but I think if you had an actual character developed around an accent, I think you could pull it off.
Thank you. Mario, come on. Give us some love.
I don't know. Maybe a 7, a 5, I don't know.
There's a maybe on there. Okay, Sarah, come on. Save me from this.
I liked it. Like, I think if you work on it more, it could be good. You sound like someone we know. Considering I actually cannot do one, and I've been in Canada for 14 years, and I just can't do the whole North American thing, that's pretty good.
Thank you.
I've
had a bit of training on now. I actually have tapes on General American, and it just shows me how to actually bring the accent up. I want to learn to do a Boston accent, so I'm going to do that.
That's funny.
Also, I'm in Mexico. What the fuck I know about American accent?
Oh, that's so true. And what does Don Cheadle know about being an Englishman? Hey, Don.
All right, we've been doing. We're already almost a half hour into the live show. We've got a couple more of these sequels that I want to bring up, and then we'll take it home. Let's talk about a sequel that look. It takes a lot for me to hate a movie, like to just straight out just despise a movie's existence. X3: The Last Stand did that for me. That movie angered me. I was angry when I got out of the theater when I saw that movie. And then I had to watch it on DVD because my parents bought it, and I was just even more angry. To go from Bryan Singer, who, say what you want about his attempts with the Superman franchise, he really did a great job with the X-Men series and really brought a lot of character development to those characters. To go from that to the disaster that was X3... And I've heard a lot of people defend X3 by saying that, it's more like, the 90s era X-Men movies where you had a lot of, mutants and a lot of these, action sequences. Have you read comic books from the 90s? They're not great. And there's a reason why they're not great. And it's because of things like this. It was basically Brett Ratner came in and made a popcorn movie with the X-Men characters. And there was nothing about that movie that lent itself to those original characters. You could have called that like Mutant X or something, and it would have been just as serviceable. And my biggest problem is the fact that what they did to not only the Sentinels, which were some of my favorite characters in the series. I mean, they're one of the first villains from the cartoon series. What they did to the Juggernaut was just that was just lame. You know,
I'm the Juggernaut, bitch.
Yeah.
Hey, here's an idea. We've got Professor Charles Xavier over there, and we're gonna take that. Who else we know that's English? I've got an idea. Let's cast that football guy, Vinnie Jones. That's a great idea.
Was that Vinnie Jones? I didn't even remember that.
Yeah, it was Vinnie Jones.
Wow.
One of the reasons why Vinnie Jones doesn't get to play in the big leagues anymore.
Wow, I didn't even realize that was Vinnie Jones. Interesting.
That was Vinnie Jones, who had no idea who Kane Marco was, because Kane was actually very snorty. He was very big, and
aren't they? Wait a minute. Aren't even him and Professor X related? Aren't they brothers in the actual comic book series?
Yeah, they are brothers.
They're half brothers.
Yeah, and that factored nothing into the movie. Like I said, it was almost as if Brett Ratner saw, okay, what are some popular things about the X-Men movies? The Beast, Juggernaut, the Sentinels, the Dark Phoenix. Let's take all of that and just toss it into this movie.
We're gonna do a movie with Brett Ratner. Brett Ratner.
The man that brought us the Rush Hour series. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, there was a lot of wasted potential in that movie.
And apparently he'll be directing The Passion of Christ 2 with Chris Tucker. What the hell, Jesus?
Yeah, you crazy, Jesus? You crazy? That's what my ex-wife says.
First ass.
Oh. So wasn't Chris Tucker Ruby Rod in Fifth Element?
Yes, he was.
Yay! I'm sorry, that he was so funny.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I love Ruby Rod. He's one of the best. I love The Fifth Element. That's one of my favorite, underrated movies.
It's an amazing movie. I love it.
Very much so.
But yeah, X3 was so bad. I didn't even go see the most recent one, X-Men. First Class. Yeah, I avoided that one.
Actually quite good.
No, that was not good. That was not good.
I was selling you First Class, Miguel, and I told you that movie was a very good movie.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go out and watch it eventually because I want to see it before I see Days of Futures Past because I do want to see that. It's Brian.
If Michael Burhan thinks that a movie's a good movie, then you know it's a good movie.
Yeah, I want to see Days of Futures Past mostly because A, they're doing the Sentinels right, and B, it's Singer coming back to the series, which I'm very happy for. You know, but like I said, between X3 and then after that, following it up with X-Men Origins Wolverine, which I think is just as bad as X3.
No.
Yeah, that movie was just awful. But I want to see. I do want to see First Class just to keep me up to posted. But yeah, X3 angered me. That was just. It's one of the few movies that I'll honestly say I think is a terrible film because I'll usually give credit to any sort of movie. Except for the one I'm going to talk about after this, which I do admit is pretty bad. Anything anybody want to say about X3 before we move on?
Wasted potential.
I cried after watching that movie of how bad it was.
Really?
Oh, did you cry after the next movie I'm about to mention, Batman and Robin?
Yes.
Oh, I thought it was going to be The Room. I'm like, yeah.
No.
He had a Bat credit card.
Yeah, you know what? I liked it as a kid when I was like 8 or 9 when it first came out. I think I kind of have to agree with what James Rolfe said. It's a comedy. You know, whether or not you want a comedy out of Batman, it's a comedy. It's not supposed to be taken seriously. It is what it is. It's a very self-aware movie. It's terrible and it has no business being called Batman, but it's not bad because it's inept. It's not bad because it's a poorly made movie. It's bad because it just has no business using the source material it does.
Agreed.
I mean, I give Batman Forever more credit than I do Batman and Robin. And I know people that hate Batman Forever, but at least in the case of that, Tim Burton still had a say as a producer, and you can kind of tell that Joel Schumacher hadn't gone all the way with his concept, as opposed to Batman and Robin, where he was full on just Technicolor gig.
He said, he goes that it was Warner that had their hands in that, and it wasn't Schumacher's fault. He said he didn't want to take it in that direction. Plus, he cast George Clooney, who had no idea how to even do a voice. And then there was Bat Nipples. And then there was Alicia Silverstone's, "Oh, this is my niece from England. Hi, how's everyone doing?"
Yeah, the one person that we want bat nipples on her suit, and we don't get him. I'm a little upset about that.
Yeah.
It made no sense. There was no reason to do what they did, and it just ended up in a situation where people were just like, really? Is this what you want to do with yourselves? You know, is that how we're going to do things? And that's what they did. So I kind of saw why they did it, but kind of didn't at the same time.
It goes back to what I said about Warner Brothers. When they feel as though they have to get their hands dirty with the property, they just go in a completely terrible direction, and Batman and Robin's a great example of that. I will give them one bit of solace. I actually thought Uma Thurman was pretty sexy as Poison Ivy. I'll admit that.
I did too, but I felt it was very badly written.
Oh, yeah, it was badly written, but she pulled off that suit very nicely.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I mean, for me, what's horrible? I mean, I loved Batman and the sequel, but you know, Tim Burton bring back this Dark Knight, and that was awesome. Then you get Batman and Robin and the sequels, and that was not the same. It was not the same Batman.
It goes back to what they said about it's almost like they wanted to bring back more the Adam West Batman from the 60s.
Which I loved when I was a kid, but the sequels, no.
Yeah, I mean, I can't go back and watch an old Adam West Batman and appreciate it the same as I would if I was a kid, you know, which is why, like I said, I liked Batman and Robin as a kid, but I can't watch it now. It's ridiculous.
I didn't like it as a kid. My sister was the only person who went into the cinema to watch it. As soon as I saw that trailer for that with George Clooney, I was like, they've casted George Clooney as Batman? Yeah, I'm not watching this in the cinema.
I didn't think George Clooney was bad. I mean, he was very underwritten in terms of the Bruce Wayne character. I think he was a better Bruce Wayne than he was a Batman. You know, you kind of have to look at it like that. It's kind of like how I think Christian Bale's a great Batman, but I think he's a pretty weak Bruce Wayne.
Mm-hmm.
I think George Clooney could have been a great Bruce Wayne, but they just underwrote that character.
Yeah, it was one of those things where George Clooney doesn't have to try hard to be smart and sophisticated.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to be try hard to be the billionaire playboy in a sense. But as Batman, it was very na Clooney.
I think that's why I didn't have too much of an issue because, yeah, he wasn't a great Batman, but that Batman itself wasn't a great Batman. So it's almost like he didn't make it any worse than it already was. You know, when you've got the banter between him and Robin, that, you know, it's just kind of ridiculous. But yeah, Sarah.
Yeah, it is, and it's Chris O'Donnell just being the whiny little bitch. No wonder it killed his career. It's like they Shia LaBeouf for Robin.
Oh dear.
Oh God! Don't give Warner Brothers any ideas.
Oh God, Shia LaBeouf was Robin. No, please don't do it. Don't.
Wait.
Ben Affleck and Shia LaBeouf.
I take it back. I take it back. Damn you.
Sarah, you want to add anything on before we get on to our last one that I'm going to talk about?
I'm going to be up all night.
I haven't really watched Batman. I haven't really watched the old Batman movies, so I don't know what I could really contribute, except that I really found them quite weird. Mostly the whole Jack Nicholson thing, being the Joker and splashing paint on the gallery pieces.
Yeah, the Burton Batmans, they're not bad movies, but they don't age well. I'll say that. Like,
yeah, it's because of that I just kind of generally stayed away from them. So pretty much my first film exposure to Batman was the Christian Bale one, which were alright. I liked them, but I found them kind of a little intense at the same time.
With the exception of the third one, I do very much like Batman Begins and The Dark Knight. I think Dark Knight Rises is a bit bloated for my taste. It kind of suffers from Spider-Man 3 syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah. Oh, well, you know what? I was going to talk about another movie, but yeah, we can have our last movie be that, Spider-Man 3. The issues with that movie, and how it kind of falls into the whole studio interference thing, because Sam Raimi did not want to do Venom. He had no intention of doing Venom. He did not like the character. He wanted to do the Sandman story. He wanted to tie that into the origin story of Peter Parker, and then the studio was like, no, if this is going to be your last movie you're doing with us, you're doing Venom, because that's what the fans want. Oh. So he shoehorned Venom into there to the point to where really Venom as a character really doesn't get much screen time of his own. You'll notice that a lot of times in that movie when Venom talks, it's usually with the face peeled back. You don't get many characters of Venom. You get Eddie Brock with the symbiote.
And then that's not even Eddie Brock. Eddie Brock, the perfect person for Eddie would have been a very brutish, big thug of a guy. They instead chose Topher Grace, who's like a male vagina.
They went with the Ultimate Universe version of Eddie Brock, because in the Ultimate Universe, the Ultimate Spider-Man series, Eddie Brock is a very nevishy, skinny-looking character, as opposed to the real Venom in the main series, where he's the big, brutish character.
Again, Topher Grace is a human vagina.
I didn't mind him in Predators. I thought he was funny.
Again, he's not Eddie Brock, though, who's brutish.
Okay, fair enough. But yeah, I've seen parts of it. I've mostly seen a lot of the emo Peter scenes, which I think is another big problem with it. I almost feel like Sam Raimi was trolling the studios. He was like, all right, you want Venom? Here.
Yeah.
Crying, he's going to dance around, make funny faces. Here, put that on the screen there, Sony.
Yeah, I think Venom deserves his own movie, because in the comic, he's one of the most powerful enemies he faced. He actually feared to fight Venom in the comics.
Yeah, because he's got the same powers for the most part of Spider-Man. He very much is a toe-to-toe villain.
Yeah, could have been an amazing movie if it was only Venom. But like you said, he has no room in there. Barely seen in the movie.
Yeah, between Sandman and New Goblin, there was no room for Venom. I almost kind of wish that the studios had just let Raimi do his thing. I know that they wanted to get that audience to come in who maybe doesn't know anything about Sandman, or maybe isn't interested in the New Goblin. But sometimes you just got to let the artist do his thing. I still like Sam Raimi as a director. I don't think he's been hit it out of the park as of late. I haven't seen Oz the Great and Powerful yet, so I can't really judge. But, I mean...
All I could say with those Batman ones are, Aquaman!
Yeah.
Aquaman!
I don't know. You know what? I haven't seen The Amazing Spider-Man yet, just because I have such an attraction to the first two Spider-Man movies, so...
What the fuck, though, did he do that Saturday Night Fever shit?
Like I said, I think it goes back to Sam Raimi was trolling Sony. They were like, I don't want to put Venom in here, but you're forcing me to do it, so screw it. You want him involved? Here, this is what I'm going to do then. And I'm going to have Peter Parker do all this goofiness and stuff. There. It's going to be my last movie anyway, because I think it was. I think pretty much that's why they rebooted the series.
Probably.
I like the reboot.
I want. You know what? It's kind of the same situation with First Class. I think I'm gonna have to watch this first movie because I do want to see the Amazing Spider-Man 2. I saw the trailer recently, and I'm in. Yeah, I might want to see that, but this actually is a pretty good segue given that we've talked about comic book movies, because in the next coming weeks, I don't know if we'll do it for next week's show. I think I might want to stave it off. But we are going to talk about comic book movies. In fact, you know what? Let me think.
The Akira live-action movie.
You know what? Next week is going to be comic book movies. That's going to be our topic next week. We're going to segue into that. We're going to talk about comic book movies, the histories of them. I'm going to do all sorts of research, and I'm going to see if I can get a friend of mine to come on as well who's a big Marvel fan, who could probably give us a lot of backstory on a lot of these characters.
I'll be on, don't worry.
Oh, you'll be on too, but I've got another buddy of mine. He's a huge Marvel expert. He's got a massive collection of Marvel action figures.
Marvel expert since 1982, bitch.
Good. You'll have something to talk about with him. But
yeah, and then me and him we're going to get into like a geek war over comics. It's like, no, this didn't happen at this time. Do you understand how the timeline works? And then we'll be going back and forth.
We're going to be talking about the movies, so we're not going to get too far into the actual comic book timeline unless we have to.
And then it's going to be internet beef. We'll be like keyboard warriors.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's almost 11 o'clock on my end. We're going to wrap things up. Mario, do you have anything you want to plug before we head on out?
No, not really.
Sarah, do you have anything that you want to plug in terms of works that you're doing, projects, things like that?
Well, I don't know who are here in the Vancouver, Canada area, but I am doing work for the Vancouver Retro Gaming Expo. It's on April 5th from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. That's New Westminster is in Vancouver. It's going to be at the Columbia Theatre right off Columbia SkyTrain Station. I can link a link to the event page on the Skype conversation on wherever you guys are going to record this. But yeah, I'm going to be doing some work for that, and I'll have a table and everything. So whoever's in Vancouver wants to see me, they can see me there.
We'll see
you
what we
told
can...
me earlier. I would have given you loads of IGG T-shirts. Just promoting I Got Gameplay, and we would have got more listeners out of it, and I would have been happy.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll send
I
you.
know. I'll just go cry in my corner.
Well, next time you do an event, just let Burhan know. You've got his Skype address.
Yeah, I do now, yes.
And Burhan, I know you have a ton of stuff you need to plug, so go ahead, buddy.
Okay, youtube.com/TheNerdGenius, dailymotion.com/nerdgenius, www.nerdgenius.com. I'm also write for the Retro Island Network, of course, and I'm also started a partnership up with our good friend Mario here, and that will just basically segue onto his network, and also fanboysanonymous.com as well. Go for it.
Do you want to plug the Daceman thing real quick before we head on out?
Daceman has got a lovely Dayspectacular Gaming for a Cause, where you guys can donate $1,000 to St. Jude's Hospital. And so make sure you donate to that as well, guys. Remember, there's a slew of prizes on there. And also, I Got Gameplay this Saturday. We have Robman and Tamman on the show. It starts at a later time at, I believe, 11 p.m. EST, which is 4 a.m. here. Yay! So make sure you're up for that.
Yeah, Burhan's going to be trolling you nerds out there by doing an episode on gaming couples.
Yes.
And you can find me on fanboysanonymous.com. 90s Kid Presents is my blog. I basically just do reviews of older video games, although I've had to get rid of a few of them for money purposes, so I might have to actually start cutting the blog. I just don't have enough material to work with. I've got one more article that I've got posted up. It's my final 4 in my top 16 greatest games of the late 90s. I'm going to get that up soon, and then who knows where that's going to be. I'm going to have to maybe talk to Tony about that, but we'll see how that goes. Check out fanboysanonymous.com. It's kind of the site we're somewhat affiliated. Well, we're both work with. They've got a lot of stuff on there. Check out the Retro Unlimited Network. Check out all the shows that are on there. XFI Radio. We've got I Got Gameplay. We've got my show here. We've got the XS Gaming Podcast. I think we archive it here through the Retro Unlimited Network, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
So definitely check that out, guys. So just keep it here on the Retro Unlimited Network, on Blog Talk Radio, and obviously check out Nerd Genius as well. For myself, for Mario Salcido, for Michael Burhan, and for Sarah Mortimer, this has been the Untitled Movie Show, Episode 6, Movie Sequels. Yeah.
I like you say gay movie sequels.
Well, that's another... That's another episode down the line. We're going to be, after we do the comic book movies, we're going to do movies based on video games. So keep it tuned on here, folks, for the next 2 episodes of the Untitled Movie Show, Episode 6, Movie Sequels. Jay, take us out.
Celebrity voices are impersonated. No celebrities were harmed in filming of this episode.
Excuse me, sir. The show's over.
Get away, zit-face.